So what was the genesis of this? Why you've done a bunch of these now. I've seen.
Yeah, so it has evolved. We used to just, and we still at times will just take some laps and have good conversation, and there's always something we're talking about. And we had talked for quite some time of like, hey, we should try this podcasting thing. If for nothing else, then to build some skills.
Yeah.
So how long did we talk about it?
A while. Months, maybe a year.
Yeah. And then one of our district tech coaches, Josh Morris, came to us and was like, hey, I'm wanting to sort of expand like podcasting in classrooms and podcasting in general and just build that out. Would y'all be interested in doing something? And so we're like, yeah. So we started, with his nudge, we started sitting down and recording our conversations, and that has evolved to, local history, a little bit of criminal justice. That's the world that I teach in. And at some point, fairly recently, we've sort of honed in on, man, we've got some people in our community, you included, that have been really good stewards of some pretty large communities when we start thinking about community just as a word, and what makes up our community. Who do we have walking around here that is a piece of local history? Mm-hmm. And as you know, schools are a big deal in a community.
Right.
I don't have to tell you that.
Right.
So it's been pretty easy, especially with us both being educators, to sort of let's just run through these people that we know that are they have some stories to tell and some wisdom to impart, and let's just sit them down and get something documented. And one thing we used to say, and I'll still say, is I kind of look at these recordings as like an old dusty box of letters one day for somebody that will maybe trip on our conversations.
I love it that you asked that question. Have you sat down with somebody before and done like one of these?
No. First time.
I love it that you're here.
Thank you.
Too.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tim told me he had done one, or Brian's first one. Brian told me Tim had done one. So y'all listen to Brian. So I listened to Tim's. And since I was telling Matt, I've also listened to Danny's. I listened to his just over the weekend, but I listened to a little bit of Kim Fisher, listened just a little bit of John Dixon. But so I'm new in the podcast world. I don't even do podcasts. I don't do podcasts. I've never done podcasts, but I'm going to start keeping up with you guys now. I'll go back and look some of your ones you've done.
I appreciate that. But there are so many podcasts out there. I'm imagining you're still a pretty curious guy, and there are still things to learn.
Oh, yeah.
And there is anything that you can think of. There is someone out there just recording some things, and it's like you just enter into a conversation with them.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I do a lot of, mostly on an internet sort of thing. I do YouTube, and I do woodworking. I still do woodworking stuff.
Yeah.
So I do some wood turning, woodworking, and so I watch those to learn what stuff, new things. And
now, have you always done woodworking? You always been into that?
Pretty much. I started probably, when Jennifer and I got married, we taught at Columbia Military Academy. And she had one of the guys that I taught with, coached with, she had him hang pictures at our house because she didn't think I'd drive a nail in the wall with a hammer. Well, anyway, Ray taught industrial arts at the time. It mostly had a cabinet. Woodworking was mostly what he did. So I'd go with him to the shop every now and then. He'd make picture frames or something like that. I just became fascinated by it. Take a raw piece of wood and make a picture frame out, run it through the planer, get it flat, get it square, and then run it through a molder and put some shapes on it, routers, whatever. Like picture frames. So I did that, framed a couple of picture frames, and we moved to Cleveland in 1977, and I built a shop at my house. Mm. So it was sort of a backwards living, sort of. First thing I did, I bought an old truck. Jennifer said, "Why buy a truck?" I said, "Because I'm going to have haul wood." She said, "Why are you going to haul wood?" I said, "I'm going to have to." So
had to have one. Yeah, I love it.
So anyway, since then I've done it. In those days, I did I was teaching at the time, and Jennifer was teaching, so we were struggling financially. Not struggling, but we didn't have a lot, and so I would do crafts and sell them. And so I built my shop up by doing that. So the last craft I did was probably about 78 or 9 or somewhere in there, maybe 80. But I had bought a Craftsman lathe, and I turned about 400 just cones for the Cleveland Garden Club. And they made centerpieces of those. So Southern Living at that time had a picture of one on a table. So Cleveland Garden Club one, so I turned 400 of them. Nothing to it at all. Just take 4x4, put it on a lathe, turn it into a cone, drill holes in it, so you put nails in it. You stick apples on it, put pineapple on top, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're making that sound so simple.
Well,
but
it was.
That is so far
But
beyond my skill set.
400 of them. But when I finished, I said, Jennifer, I'm never doing the same thing again as long as I live. So that was the end of my crafts.
So you're an
But
artist.
by then I'd bought all the stuff. By then I'd bought I had a good start on my shop stuff.
Yeah.
So do you still have all, your tools, your shop?
I don't have those tools. I've got better tools now.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I've got a good workshop at home.
So if I say Foxfire books to you, you familiar with the Foxfire books?
No.
Okay. So I don't know. My Uncle Steve, I don't know. He's a fascinating fellow. I don't even know where to begin, but he's Saudi Daisy's local historian.
Okay.
And so he runs their local museum down there.
Okay.
But he's got these Foxfire books that go back to, whether it be woodworking and think colonial days. How would you build it then? And it teaches you the skills out of a book to do that.
Right.
And this goes back to 70s, 80s probably. I mean, even you want to learn how to make moonshine. I mean, these Foxfire books can show you how to do those kind of things too.
Well, I started off with books, and then I was a charter subscriber to a wood magazines, Better Homes Garden Wood, Fine Woodworking, and Woodsmith. I started them when they started in the early 80s, had every edition of it all the way up till, I guess, 2 years ago. And then my shop was just full of magazines. I couldn't have anything in my shop because I had so many magazines. So I finally just gave them to Habitat. And, now I don't ever look at them anyway because if I want to do something, I go online, look at YouTube.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
So it's really neat.
So there's Bob Taylor handmade
stuff
something out there in this world.
Yeah, so one of the neat things I did, Jennifer's mom and dad had her dad, side of the family, had a farm in McMinn County. And so her grandmother gave me a cherry tree and a walnut tree and an oak tree back in 1977 when we moved to Cleveland. And so I had them cut down and had them cut into lumber. And so I made my daughter, for example, I made her a walnut desk for her high school graduation, which I finished. She's probably about junior in college, but it was supposed to be for her high school graduation.
Yeah.
But I was just slow. I was hobby woodworker type guy, and so I made a lot of our furniture. I made what I thought was heirloom quality. So I made that desk, handmade dovetails, handmade pulls. The board you pull out to write on. On a desk, an old desk, you had a board you pull out and write on. It's all walnut's a dark wood. I inlaid her initials in maple. That one board, nobody sees it unless you pull it out. It took me about 14 hours to make that one board because I inlaid her initials in maple in it. Which her initials have changed since then, but that's still there.
Yeah,
what we do as dads.
Yeah.
I imagine if I built a walnut desk, it wouldn't have a pullout. So that's pretty awesome.
Hey, will you take us back to your teaching days? Where were you teaching when you moved here?
So I'll start back before that if I could. I went to graduate school at Tennessee, and I got my master's. A year after my master's, I had a doctoral assistantship, and I was teaching. When you're teaching, my degree was going to be in physiology of exercise. So at any rate, they assigned me to teach bowling. Well, I'd never bowled in my life. I didn't know anything about bowling, so but you have to teach. So I started learning, and so as fate would have it, I broke my hand right before school started. I was at UT playing flag football, and somehow broke my hand and hit and. So I had my handicap, so I had to teach bowling. So I taught bowling left-handed. So I said, well, if I'm going to teach the ball, I might as well try to learn something else. So I learned to bowl left-handed. Anyway, my wife was in that class. Jennifer was in that class. She was a senior at UT at the time. And so fast forward to first midterm. We were on quarters then, so midterm came fairly early. I said, okay, next week we're gonna have a little quiz on bowling for your midterm. So everybody in the class, I don't know, full class, I don't know how many, 60, 70 kids in there, whatever was in that class. And she said, bowling? What are you talking about, a midterm? I said, I'm struggling in real classes. So I said, so anyway, I probably didn't even give a midterm that year. I don't know, because it made sense to me. So I said, what do you, so at some point I said, what are you struggling with? She said, well, I'm struggling in physiology. I said, well, I don't know much about bowling, but I know something about that.
Yeah.
So I can teach you, I can tutor. So anyway, I said, I'll help you. And one thing led to another. And so
Yeah.
here we are 51 years later. We were married 51 years ago, Sunday,
that
this
story.
past Sunday. So
Well, happy anniversary.
So did you get any better at bowling?
did I?
Yeah.
I did. I taught myself, I got an A on my, you had to have certain averages and stuff. And I got myself where I could bowl left-handed and get to the A average, which is like 150 or something like that. She made an A also, and she earned it. I mean, she didn't make an A because I was helping her physiology.
Maybe. Maybe she did.
No, well, maybe.
No. Okay.
No. She earned her A.
Well,
So,
hey, I'm going to ask you something, and I'm going to take around the world to get there. What year did you begin the principalship at Michigan Avenue Elementary?
1990.
Okay, 1990. I am a first grader
First grader at Michigan Avenue.
at Michigan Avenue Elementary School.
Right.
And you don't remember this, but I was in Miss Adcock's first grade
Charlotte
classroom.
Adcock, yeah.
And as part of a little class activity, I was privileged to interview the new principal.
Oh, wow.
So
How neat.
this will be the second time I've sat
good.
down and asked you questions.
30 years later. Almost
that's
28.
awesome, man.
Yeah, a lot of years later. But my question is, during that interview, you told me you were from Maryland.
That's correct.
So will you just tell me the story now of how Cleveland, Tennessee, Maryland, will you just fill in some of those gaps for me?
I grew up in Maryland. My dad was a bricklayer. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I was not from an educated family, but a good Christian family. And so, as an aside, at Michigan Avenue now, there's a brick sign out there on Benton Pike. My dad and I laid the bricks for that sign back when I was principal there.
how about that?
So, anyway, I was at Salisbury University, Salisbury State in those days. Salisbury State College is now Salisbury University, as most colleges have become universities for some reason. But at any rate, the guy that was my track coach, I ran track, and was my physiology of exercise teacher. The first guy ever turned me on to learning something that was, I was fascinated by the whole piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
He had gone to UT and gotten his graduate degree there, and also the head of our department, Alethea Whitney, had gotten her PhD there, and so they both encouraged me to go there. So that's the only college I applied to go to graduate school. At the time, there were only about three schools in the eastern half of the U.S. Penn State, Wisconsin, and UT had the best physiology of exercise programs going in those days. I applied at UT, got accepted, and so I went down there, and so that's how I got there. And then of course, as I said earlier, met Jennifer, and
She's from McMinn County?
she's from Cleveland, Tennessee.
Oh, she's from Cleveland. Okay.
Her dad was Bill Schultz. He was principal at Bradley from 1960 to 1975.
There you go.
He was mayor of Cleveland after that. So her family, her grandfather, her great-great-grandfather was Andrew Taylor, one of the original settlers of Cleveland.
Yeah.
We've been to his cemetery. Is that the cemetery we went to?
Out Chatta?
Out behind
I'm not even sure. I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
buried.
Yeah.
We had to dig for it.
Chatta Valley Road. There's like a little
Yeah.
farm, and then right behind that, there's all kinds of headstones that are all covered up, and we went and just kind of,
Oh, did you?
Taylor Cemetery.
Yeah.
There's a placard out there that says this is the Taylor
Andrew
Cemetery.
Taylor, yeah.
I don't know if it was Andrew specifically, but I would like to know.
Yeah, Andrew Taylor was originally, we thought forever, the original settler, but as it turns out, he wasn't. He was one of the early ones. Alan Jones, you know Alan, he's written a book. He's written a history on that, and so he discovered who the original guy was. I don't know who he was, but anyway, so she goes all the way back to the very earliest days of Cleveland.
Wow.
And I have a little chair at my house now, a little chair that Andrew Taylor made for Annie Taylor, his daughter.
Wow.
And
Oh,
Annie
my
Taylor
word.
was married to Schultz, and then so anyway, that's how it got. My daughter, when she was for the 150 year anniversary, she was at Stewart School in maybe 4th or 5th grade. She wrote a poem, an essay or a paper from Taylor to Taylor. She wrote as if she were from her grandfather's standpoint. From her standpoint, her grandfather was Bill Schultz, who was the principal. Bradley said that she was dreaming that her great-great-grandfather, she was writing as if she was Annie Taylor, and that her great-great-grandson would be able to fly places, and because planes weren't invented then, and
Wow.
so it's pretty neat.
Yeah, that is
That
fun.
That's very neat.
Some local history for you.
Yeah. So you came from UT.
I went from UT to Columbia Military Academy.
Okay.
Now, is that Columbia,
Tennessee, yes,
Okay.
southwest of Nashville.
Yeah.
I taught there for 2 years, coached track and cross country and soccer. I'd played soccer in high school and ran track in college, so it was sort of a natural thing. When I was at UT, I worked with Stan Huntsman, who was the coach of UT's men's team. And so in those days, his recommendation carried a lot of weight. So when I guess Columbia Military Academy had an opening in track, they called him and he recommended me, and so I went and got the job. And Jennifer got a job also. They had an elementary school at the time, so Jennifer got a job in elementary school teaching. She was also teaching physical education. Taught 1 year, switched. She didn't like it. She couldn't catch a ball. You threw a ball to her, it hit her in the face. Why she measuring PE? I don't know. She was a dancer, but she couldn't. You don't do much dancing and teaching PE.
Yeah.
So she taught 1 year, and then she went back and got certified in reading and did elementary for the rest of her career. But so we taught there, had a great time, made some really, really good friendships. Right out of the bat. Now CMA at the time, it was on its last legs. We didn't know that when we went there. They were in financial trouble. Like they paid me, I don't know, quite a bit more than any public school was getting in Tennessee. But then after the 11th month, they didn't pay me my 12th check. But they were in financial trouble. So, and teaching at the time, the way it worked, so that was like August, September school's already starting, and you don't get your last check. So we stayed that year, but we knew right then we weren't going to stay past that. So it was, so we started looking for jobs, but we lived on campus. We lived in a dorm on campus. We're dorm parents. And there were 3 or 4 other families that were doing the same thing, or young guys like we were. And so the coach I was talking about did woodworking. Another lady who taught English, and her husband was the principal at the elementary school. So Jennifer worked for Larry, and Mary Jo taught English. So we all left after that. We all left at the same time. All the ones I'm talking about, we all left. And so Mary Jo went to Chattanooga State, got her law degree. She became a Supreme Court Justice of Kentucky.
Goodness.
Wow.
Larry, basically, he didn't do much after that. He supported her in her work as getting her master's and getting her judgeship and all that. And but then Ray and Pam were close friends. Ray was the coach. Ray actually, last time I saw Ray, I was here at Walker Valley at a football game. He was on a school board in, I don't know, Hohenwald, Tennessee, I think, or something like that. And we were playing him in football. He was over here. So I saw him that night. It's the last time I've seen him. He's since passed away. But Pam, Mary Jo, and Larry, we go to Florida and see them once a year. So Jennifer still talks to those guys regularly. So we had some really good friendships developed there. We were close. We were all doing stuff together, 27, 28, whatever.
Yeah, relationships that matter. That's a big deal.
Yeah. That's very nice. Very cool.
Now, is that academy still exist?
It became Columbia Academy, so
form?
it went bankrupt. We left my first year in Cleveland was 77, 78 school year. I taught in Cleveland City that 1 year at TC Bauer. Jennifer got a job she was an assistant at E.L. Ross. E.L. Ross was just opening that year. But they hired her to teach right as school was starting. So she, we had to have jobs to leave. And so we were both offered jobs in Stone Mountain, Georgia. But she wanted to come here, and I thought, well, we might as well come here. So I got a job at TC Bauer, and then she was offered a job in Bradley County, maybe Oak Grove or somewhere. I'm not sure where. Don't remember where. But she wanted, her mom was in the city, taught in the city. Her dad was at Bradley forever. She wanted to be in the city. So she took the assistant job. But as it turns out, like I say, by the time first day of school rolled around, she had a teaching job because the enrollment was up. It was E.L. Ross opened that year. First year was open.
Mm.
She taught there until 2007. So she was
Oh, wow.
she's got all 30 years. She got 30 years in there.
Huh. Hey, remind me, I'm trying to think as you talk. I remember Blythe Bower being built. Was T.C. Bower on that same property?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
My memory's escaping me just to.
T.C. Bower and Blythe were two separate schools in those days. I was at T.C. Bower. T.C. Bower was building that open school model or open classroom. So like, say third grade was just wouldn't be like all 30 over here, 30 or whatever.
Mm.
And teachers would they'd make individual rooms out of their bookcases. They'd divide it off, so they would be. So that was an experiment that failed really. That open classroom model for elementaries.
Huh.
But I got started there, and then I went to Cleveland State in the next year, and I was at Cleveland State for 13 years. Loved it. It's a great school. I loved every minute of it until the end, and then I didn't. We got a president in who was a bright guy, had a PhD in nuclear physics, but he, in my estimation, he did some things that hurt the school. So I'd loved working there. I'd loved recruiting kids there, because I felt like anybody I'd talk to, if you come to Cleveland State, you get a good 2 years, you got help if you need help. Well, first thing he did was he fired a bunch of teachers and he hired adjunct people because it was cheaper, right? No benefits, no.
Oh.
So you hire a part-time teacher. When you got a part-time teacher and kids can't get their, you got no office hours, you don't get help if you need it. I couldn't, I said, I can't do this anymore. So I told Jennifer a little story about that. I'll tell you how I left. This is 1989. I was 39 years old or so, 40, whatever. I was going to be 40 that year. Anyway, I told Jennifer that summer, I said, I'm not going back to Cleveland State next year. I said, I'm going to do something else. So fast forward till we get to December of that year. And by then I was in a funk, man, because I felt bad. I felt bad about the kids. I didn't feel good what we were doing. So you can't, how can you go recruit kids and be a spokesperson for a college if you don't believe in what you're doing?
Yeah,
for sure.
So I'll never forget this, on December 14th, I think it was, about 4:45 or so, we got out of school at that time, about 4 o'clock. As I was administrator at that time, low-level administration, whatever. He called me down to the office on a Thursday afternoon and said, so I'm doing a great job, blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm going to move you up to my cabinet level position. He's going to put me in community services. Well, I'd worked over there for a couple of years. I did not like it because it's working with adults, and I was there to work with kids. I loved to work with kids. I was coaching tennis at the time. I had some great relationships. Relationships are what it's about in education. Mm. So I loved the kids. I loved the faculty. I was doing well. But he's going to put me over there. And he said, it's a cabinet level position, blah, blah, blah. I went home and told Jennifer, I told you I wasn't going back to Cleveland State next year. More thought it matter I got. He didn't ask me if I wanted it. He just told me I was going to do it. He thought he was doing me a favor.
Yeah.
But he was doing me a harm. Well, it turns out to be a great thing. I told Jennifer, I told you I wasn't going back to Cleveland State next year. I'm not going back tomorrow. She said, what? I said, I'm not going back tomorrow. So I'm through. So I went to Jerry. The next morning was Friday morning. I was in Jerry Frazier's office. I was there when he got there. It was in the old, where Gary Davis' office is now, basically in the where the election office hall is.
The annex across from the courthouse?
Yeah. So I was there. I got there. His secretary comes in. I said, I want to see Jerry. And so she said, well, he's not here yet. So I'll wait. So I'll wait. I don't know what time he got there, but I waited. When he got there, he saw me. So I said, Jerry, here's the deal. I said, I've been at Cleveland State. I've loved it. I can't stand it anymore. I said, I'm not going back. I said, so when I leave here, I'm going to go to Cleveland City. I'm going to go to Hamilton County. I'm going to go to Benton. I'm going to Polk County. I'm going to Macon County. I'm going to Meigs County. I'm going to get another job somewhere. I said, I'm certified. I can teach anything you got. I couldn't really, but I was certified in a lot of stuff, really.
Yeah.
I was elementary through 8, and I had science. I had physical education. I had a bunch of certifications.
Now, before you got into administration at Cleveland State, what were you teaching at Cleveland State? What classes?
I taught education. So I taught Kim Fisher. Yeah, I saw Kim Fisher and Lisa Armstrong.
So you were teaching future teachers?
Yes, I was teaching future teachers. I also taught physical education too.
Yeah.
But I was teaching the education courses.
Were you still teaching bowling?
No.
No?
No. I
Gave it
moved
up
on.
after a hand injury.
I tell Jerry, and he said, well, today's the last day to apply for Michigan Avenue. I said, wow, can I apply? He said, yeah. I said, well, he said, they'd already done all their interviews. I thought they were about ready to make a decision, but they hadn't announced anything yet. So he said, can you interview this afternoon? I said, shoot, yeah, I can. So I went home, wrote a letter to the parents of Michigan Avenue, sort of introducing myself to them as a new principal, blah, blah, blah. So I went to my interview, took that letter, said this is what kind of thing I would want to do. And anyway, I got the job. And Jennifer learned that I got the job on the radio.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in those days.
Now, was she shocked? Was she upset? Was
No,
she happy?
She was happy. She was happy she could be, because she knew
how miserable
I was
you were?
miserable. I mean, I told her I'd grown past it. I couldn't in good faith work there anymore, and so I was ready to move on. And so she was ready for me to move on too, because I guess I was pretty tough to live with those days. I don't know.
Now, we have sat with Steve Hartline.
Yeah.
Who was the voice of Cleveland making that announcement in 1990? Who was on the radio then? You remember?
No, I have no idea.
Would you know, Matt? Who's the radio then?
No, I could throw out some names.
Tom
but
Rowland, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe Tom.
Could have been,
It
yeah.
could be.
I don't know.
That's
It
fine.
could be something after Tom too. I don't know. It wasn't Steve Hartline though. I'm pretty sure of that.
No, he's just a youngster.
Yeah. So I don't know who made that announcement on the radio, but anyway, I got the job, and so when I look back at that, I was at a low point in my professional career, and it turned out to be one of the high points of my life, because it changed my life forever. And it's one of those things. I'm reading a book now on the disciplines of a godly man, and I really feel that that God had His hand on it.
I know he did, because he eventually had you as our director of schools.
Yeah. So Michigan Avenue. Then I go there in 1990, and so I remember the teachers being so apprehensive because I was coming, because I didn't even know where the school was when I applied for it. Right, I'd never been there in my life. I lived in a different world at Cleveland State. It's when I went there, I had my first faculty meeting. I went there in January, right? So David Holloway was the previous principal. He was moving to the central office, and so I started in the first day back from January. But I went to school. I went there like on December 16th, 17th. I moved in my stuff. When I went into school, I was so sad at how it looked. It was clean. David did a good job having a good, clean school, but the walls were ugly green. There were no kids' work. It was just blank. And I thought, my goodness, I'd be depressed if I go to that every day. So Jerry Frazier told me in the interview, he said, if you keep your floors clean, shiny, and everything clean, he said, parents are going to think you did a good job. So we did that. But first thing I did is I had a mural painted. I would say first thing, I don't know. First thing we did is change the color of the walls. Put them something like this, something lighter, something brighter. Mm-hmm. Then we put strips on the wall, which Fire Marshal eventually made us take down and put post kids work on there. Because, when I said my dad was a bricklayer. My grandparents never learned to read or write. I was taught by parents. My parents didn't speak the same language I speak to you today. I'm still no great grammatical. I'm not good with grammar.
That one, yeah.
Grammatarian? Is that a word? I just made it up.
But I do fairly well. I can match subject verb tense most of the time. But they were great human beings, and so I was not a good student in school. I became a good student when I was in college. I really learned to read in college. I learned I could read, but I didn't become proficient at reading until I went to college and had to read. So I'm sort of getting lost here in my story, but
you came in and changed the walls. You
changed
kept
the walls,
floors clean.
and kept the floors clean. The first faculty meeting, I told the teachers, I said, the only thing I've got going for me here is that I live with an elementary teacher. Her mother was an elementary teacher, so I've listened all my life. I learned how to read. I learned how to read after I had 2 master's degrees from Mrs. Schultz. I didn't know vowel sounds. I didn't know short A was an azure A. She had these color coded pencils: azure A, pink I, green E. And I learned how vowel sounds. I could read the words, but I didn't know the vowel. I didn't.
Wow.
So anyway. So I tell the teachers, I said, I've got a lot to learn. I said, you're the experts here, but I'm going to learn. I said, what you can count on me is I'm going to work hard. I'm going to give you my best. And so probably some of the things that happened in Michigan were just blind luck almost. So for example, the first day I got there, January 5th or whatever day it was that year, it was cold. It was real cold, rainy. I got there at 6 a.m. I wanted to be the first one there. And when I got there by 6:30, kids were standing outside. They weren't inside. They were standing outside to get in. They didn't open the doors till 7 o'clock. I said, why? So the custodian was there, and I walked down there and said, I'm going to let these kids in. He said, no, you can't do that. I said, why can't I do that? He said, because they're going to fight in. I said, I don't care. I'd rather fight in the building than fight outside and freeze to death. They're my kids. I want my kids stand out there and Michigan at the time was mostly blue collar workers. A lot of them had both parents working. They were dropping their kids off. They worked in these mills and plants around, and they have to be at work at 7. Mm-hmm. So they dropped the kids off on their way to work. Well, those kids stand out there in that cold, freezing rain for 30 minutes. That's not going to happen.
Did the custodian know he was talking to the new principal?
Yeah, he did, but he thought he was the principal. He thought he was the principal.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Was that Ronnie?
No, that wasn't Ronnie. Ronnie was great. Ronnie was great. Ronnie turned out to be great.
Ronnie was great.
Yeah. Ronnie was a great guy. And so I hired Ronnie to be the main custodian after this guy left. He left after a year because he didn't like me, and that was okay.
Ronnie was a superstar, though.
Ronnie
Amongst
was
the
great.
Students, he was.
Yeah, he was really good. So I went out and opened doors for the parents when they dropped off because I wanted to get to know the kids. My goal was, with my background, not being a good student and all, nobody knew who I was in school. I mean, except as an athlete, then they did. But until I was in high school and I was an athlete, and plus school wasn't a priority on my list. But so at any rate, I did that, and it turns out to be a good thing, right? I understand they still do that at Michigan Avenue. Lots of times staff stay at their open doors in the morning for kids. Well, I was doing it not really for the reason of building relationships. I just want to know the parent. I want to identify kids. I want to learn their names. I want to know every kid in school. So I did that. And then another thing I did that turned out to be a really good thing that I think I would highly recommend to any new principal, particularly at an elementary school, but I think Danny Coggin did when he was here, is I went to every classroom. I tried to go, you couldn't literally do it here, but I was in every classroom every day. And I told teachers, I'm not coming to get you, I'm coming to learn. So you guys are expert. I've never taught anybody to read. I've never taught anybody first grade math.
Yeah.
I said, you're the experts. I said, you can count on me. I'm going to work hard, and you're going to teach me stuff, and my wife's going to teach me stuff, and so we're going to learn this. Well, what I'd say now that being a good principal is a different set of skills than being a good teacher necessarily. I think I was a far better administrator than I was as a teacher. I think it's about building relationships, building a team. My athletic background really helped me there, I think. I knew about failures as an athlete. I knew about victories. I knew you don't give up. I knew about persistence. My dad taught me that. He was a bricklayer. We'd go on a job, big job like, say, Walker Valley. If you're a bricklayer here, you start, there's no bricks on any wall, and you come in the first day and you get a little section done. The next day you get another section done. So you have to do it one brick at a time, but you do it right, and at the end of the day you get a nice building. Well, so that's sort of what we did in elementary school. And so
how'd those veteran teachers respond when you ended up in their room?
so they for the most part, they loved it. So I don't know if I should even tell the story, but this part of it. But when I got the job, Ann Guthrie was the elementary supervisor, and David Holloway had been there. He was going to the central office. So both those guys had worked. So they told me, they said, well, you got a couple of teachers shouldn't be teaching. I thought, well, why are you telling me that? You've been their boss for all these times. Well, it turns out they were right. One lady was a great human being, but she just wasn't a good teacher. And so this is the way I was blessed. I went in the middle of the year, so I didn't have a choice. I had to live with it. And I would go in their rooms, and before long, I saw that we had, out of a whole staff, we only had 2 that were really not good teachers. In those days, parents could request teachers. And so this one teacher would get no requests, so she get every bad kid. So that works double whammy against her.
It's a snowball, yeah.
And then the good teachers got good requests. All the good parents wanted. So then they so you got real inequities there. So one of the first things I did it probably took me 2 years to do this, but when we were having, at the end of the year, we'd have promotion. I'd get all the first grade teachers and all second grade teachers. First grade's going up to second grade, right? So I'd have teachers identify the most difficult kids they had to deal with, and we would make sure we split them up before any. So I was going to try to equalize that some, and so we did that. That was a good thing. The other thing I did is I'd come from Cleveland State, and I was, I guess, naive, but to a good thing. The 2 teachers that were not good were gone within 2 years. The first year I was there, I was just learning. I watched. Next year I saw things had to improve, so then I started improvement plans, and then finally I just had to do a real improvement plan and say, this is documented stuff, and you're going to have to go.
So had you ever had to let someone go?
Oh yeah,
before?
I had done that several. At Cleveland State, that was my lot in life, some too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I was going to ask if one of those teachers was Tim Riggs, but you answered that. So
Tim Riggs, my only story about Tim Riggs. So I go there. Tim's a great guy. Man. I'll tell you, I'll tell by the end of my time there, but early on, Tim, the main lesson I taught Tim was don't shoot a shotgun when you can shoot a rifle or a BB gun. So he had this class, and he said, the next person that does this is going to paddle or something. Well, some little sweet little girl did it, so he had. I say, why would you do that, Tim? Why would you punish everybody for one kid? So if this kid's bad, why would you, So, so that was just a lesson. I think it's real important in education that you not penalize whole classes at a time unless the whole class deserves it. So I tell you that example as a teacher. I had a really, really, really good teacher, but she was late every day. So I started making her sign in. She said, how can you do that? You're not making everybody sign in. I said, no. If I go to the dentist, I want to pull all my teeth, just the one that's hurting.
Yeah.
Oh,
man.
So anyway, she got better and got there on time, but she was a great teacher. I loved her, and I wasn't going to let her go. I mean, heck, fire, no.
Yeah.
I loved her. She was great.
Yeah,
Did a
you
great
coached
job.
her up.
Yeah. But she had to get there on time.
I want to take a pause because we mentioned Tim's name. I want to read something to you, if that's okay. It's pretty brief. This is from Tim Riggs. Bob, I can't begin to thank you enough for mentoring me when I expressed an interest in becoming an administrator. You taught me what a true servant leader looked like and how to take a good school and make it into a top-performing school in Bradley County. When you became our director of schools, you transformed our system into one of the best in Tennessee, where teachers and administrators felt valued. You also seemed to go on trips or attend meetings whenever chaos ensued and left me in charge.
Yeah. So, that's so at this point in my life, that's what you live for. That's what, when you're in education, you work. What makes a difference is what, after you've done the job, to have somebody say it was important and of value. All the way back to my teaching and coaching days at Cleveland State, those kids, some of the kids still come see me, still talk to me. it means so much when somebody says it matters to them and that you made a difference in their life. I mean, that's what you do it for.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim wanted to be, so I'll tell you a couple of quick stories about Tim. So Tim's wanting to be a principal. Well, so first thing I tell him, well, Tim, if you want to be a principal, you got to go to the board. You got to be seen in public, but can't be seen as a PE teacher. You got to be seen like a principal. So I said, well, what you wear? So if you come to board meeting, don't come in those PE shorts and a T-shirt. Come in a pair of pants and a shirt, and at least a shirt and tie, or shirt look good, look professional. So I thought I think if you dress for success, I think.
Well, you lived that. I can remember as a tiny tot kid, you in your blue shirt and your tie every day, and I remember thinking, that guy dresses sharp.
Yeah. Well, I did try to live that, but so anyway, that was one of the first lessons for Tim. But so Tim, we were probably I'd been there 4 or 5 years, and we were already turning the corner as a school, and so I hung my hat on practice. What does that mean by that? I mean, my wife had told me, and her mother had told her, and told me forever and ever, reading is so important. Reading is the most important thing. Reading is the most important thing. And so I'd done everything I knew to do, but we weren't making the gains in reading I thought we should be making. And so Herbert Lackey went, and Lisa Armstrong went to somewhere, and they saw this program called AR, and it was about practice. And so then he told me about it, and I looked into it, and said, so then I went to a couple schools and saw Downright. I thought, holy cow, that's what we need to do. So we got into it. So we went all in, so reading practice. So in a nutshell, that book I was telling you about, Disciplines of a Godly Man. The reason I'm doing that book right now is a friend of mine told me that he was doing it, and he said, "Yo, look at the book." So I just got the book, and in the introduction, it talks about Seth Curry. You know how many days a week Seth Curry shoots a basketball? 6 days a week, all year long. You know how many times he shoots? He shoots 600 shots a day after practice. Every day. He only counts the balls he makes. So 600, he makes 600 baskets. I said on intense days, you'll make 1,000. And only counting the baskets he makes. He doesn't shoot 1,000. He shoots 1,000 baskets in the basket.
Yeah.
That's why he's so good. Practice. I thought back to I'd coached tennis at Cleveland State. I played tennis. I'd been, played various sports. But I knew that in tennis, if you want to get a good forehand, I could give you a lesson. I give you 2 guys lessons today. Well, if Paul goes out and practices them, has 100 forehands a day down the line, and you don't do anything, next week he's going to be a little bit better than you, but 3 weeks from now he's going to be way better than you. Mm. So it's practice. It's not the instruction that separated you. You had the same instruction. Practice is what separated you. So
Matt, if you and I played tennis right now, who wins?
Tennis, it's a toss-up, buddy.
I win. Mr. Taylor, I win. For sure. I've hit more forehands than you.
Yeah, you definitely have. Everybody has hit more tennis forehand. Now, I'll go pickleball. We'll go play pickleball.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Matt's going to win.
So
I gave you one.
So,
it's 1-1.
Bob Taylor's going to win.
No, Bob Taylor won't win.
If all 3 of us are playing ping pong, who wins?
Bob Taylor.
I used to be pretty good, but I'm not anymore. I've got Parkinson's now, and so it really affects my perception, my hand-eye coordination, all that stuff. I've had to learn to walk again using bilateral coordination. I'm just so anyway. That's another story for another day. But Herbert Lackey, Herbert had it, and I remember seeing him first time I saw him at buy low in a cart, one of those ride around and get your groceries. Mm-hmm. I thought, what in the world are you doing? Because he could still walk some, but I understand that now better than I ever did. So it's Parkinson's is no fun, no good disease, but I work hard at it every day. I try to do my exercises every day. I'm doing the best I can do. That's what I'm going to say.
Well, you just slapped those stairs we just came up. Yeah. That's a big set of
stairs.
Well,
I try to walk as a rule. I had double hernia surgery about 6 weeks ago, but prior to that, I was trying to walk 3 miles a day. 4 days a week at least, and I'll try to walk on 5% grade. Try to get my heart rate to 130 and keep it there for 30 minutes. That's hard to do, really hard to do. But they say that if you can work 85% of your maximum heart rate, whatever that is, and hold it for 30 seconds, do it 4 to 5 times a week, that you can delay the advancement of symptoms. You can't make them go away, but you can delay the advancement, the progression of the symptoms.
Tell you what, once an athlete, always an athlete.
Yeah.
And
so
you are still an athlete.
I've watched Davis Finney was an Olympic cyclist. Finney Foundation is he's a big Michael J. Fox. Those guys are well known, but Finney was an Olympic cyclist. He was a professional cyclist after the Olympics, and he has it. And of course now but he says you got to treat Parkinson's like you're a professional athlete. You got to set goals. You got to go for it. You got to work at it every day. Can't just practice when you feel like it. So I think in those regards, the discipline, the self-discipline of being an athlete, of having worked at it, of having played tennis, having done those things really is sort of helping me, I hope. So anyway, that's a story. That's an aside story. But.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you telling it. How long have you known about this?
Well, Jerry Devane diagnosed me in 2021, and I wasn't officially diagnosed until 23 or 24. But Jerry Devane is a great guy, good doctor. He's in our Bible study at church we have on Monday morning, so I see him every day.
Great guy, yeah.
So anyway, he told me, and then I just came here from Dr. Tusa's office. Dr. Tusa's a dermatologist.
Yeah.
With Chattanooga
My wife is there right now at 4:00.
Yeah. So
He's taken care of us many times.
Yeah, so he got the ball rolling for me in official diagnosis because I saw him probably might have been last year, maybe year, I don't know time wise, but I went in his office and he said, "Anybody ever told you you have Parkinson's?" I said, "Yeah, Jerry Devane does." He said, "He's right, you've got it." He said, "You ever find a movement neurologist?" So I went to Dr. Sheik. He's confirmed it. Then I saw Dr. Bayer, who's a local neurologist. Now I go to Vanderbilt and Synapticare to have two movement neurologists work with regularly. And
yeah.
So anyway.
Wow.
But I was talking to Kim Fisher about it, and of course Kim knows a lot about it because her dad had it. And that was, anyway, she said, she said he wouldn't do some of the stuff you're doing, but it depends. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I went to one doctor who said, you've got Parkinson's, says neurological, said it's going to get worse. Just call me if you need more medicine, basically. Well, I didn't like that. I want to do what I can do. I want to find out what you do. So,
sure.
So I've read a lot. I watch stuff all the time, YouTube stuff on Parkinson's now. I read Davis Finney's got a book out. Michael J. Fox got a book out. I've attended Michael J. Fox deals in Nashville. So I'm doing what I can do. To deal with it. Now, at the end of the day, I'm going to lose the battle, but I'm going to fight as long as I can.
Fight it. Yeah.
I'm 76, so you're going to die sometime anyway. So,
I just love it that everything we keep talking about, you keep saying, "I'm reading. I'm reading." I mean, you're just continuing to learn, aren't you?
I try to.
Yeah. I love that. Can I interrupt you and read something again?
Sure.
Mr. Taylor, I could easily ask you to retell the story of how you and Tim Riggs caught the Michigan Avenue mouse, or hold that thought, or I could share your famous and my favorite Bob Taylor swear word, Great Mother Bear. But my message to you would have to just be how very thankful I am for you. You were my first education professor at Cleveland State, and I still remember your lecture on tort law. I would also share how very honored and proud I was to not only endure your interview, and endure is the correct verb, but also that you allowed me to become a principal in Bradley County Schools. I guess what I would want everyone to know about you was that you made me and others feel valued and respected. You listened and you responded. I will always be thankful for those days and the good things we accomplished for students. I love you with all my heart, and I'm glad I got to call you boss. Kim Fisher. As you probably figured out while I was reading it. She also said, I'd like for you guys to ask Bob Taylor. Well, he and Herbert Lackey were tight when they were principals. The two of them stuck together and often got into, this is Paul's favorite word, good trouble. I'd like to hear one of his favorite memories when they colored outside the lines a little in the interest of helping students and making their schools successful.
I've got some of those. First, I'll tell you that one first, then we'll go back to the mouse story because that's a neat story.
Yeah, more than one person has said you got to hear the mouse story.
So, so how I got in trouble was we were we started doing accelerated reading. We started practicing. Herbert School was doing it, and we did a little bit differently than they did. But it's all about reading practice. Was the end of the day. Had to be fun. Had to be something different. You had to know. So when I was in school, teacher science. Did you read the book? Yeah, I read the book. Heck, I never read a book in my life when I went to college. But with AR, you get a library book, a kid's interest book, say a Dr. Seuss book, and you read it, and then when it's done, you got test questions made up for it, and you take tests, so you have to get the questions right to get points, to earn them points. So I believed in that. So we went to 30 minutes a day of reading practice early on. Well, our test scores went up. Well, because if you can't read TCAP on third grade level, you can't pass it. Doesn't matter how smart you are. My grandfather was one of the smartest guys I know, couldn't read or write, so he could never pass a test. He could never do anything, requiring reading.
Yeah.
But he was smart. He just had never learned to read. So reading doesn't make you smarter. It doesn't mean you're more intelligent. Just it's a skill, though. And so in our world today, you need to be able to learn to read. You've got to learn how to read. So my wife had preached that. Her mother had preached that forever and ever. I'd heard all about it. Well, we did it. And so with that, our test scores went up. Well, so then sometimes I think if that's good, more is better. So the next year we went to an hour. So somewhere along the way there, our test scores went way up. And I'll say, when I went to Michigan Avenue, I've always been competitive, always been a sort of driven to be better, to be the best I can be. I don't know, when I played tennis, whatever I did, I wanted to be good at it. Well, so I wanted Michigan Avenue to be the best school. I didn't want to be second best. I want to be better than every school in Bradley. I want to be better than a school in Cleveland. I want to be the best school in the state. I want to be the best school in the country. No, that's dreaming, but I mean, that's what I wanted. Mm-hmm. So I would talk to other principals about ideas, and it was almost at the time like, well, they didn't want to give me a good idea, because if they give me a good idea, I might do it and I might get credit for it and they might not, sort of thing. Well, I think that was first bad thing. So Ben Wilson had been a national. He was in Athens. He was at Ingleside Elementary in Athens, and I played tennis with Ben, so I knew about his. I know his school. I just knew I'd gotten recognition. 2-time Blue Ribbon school, only school in Tennessee at the time that had done that. Mm-hmm. So I would go up to Ben's school after school one day a month or something like that, and he would share ideas with me, share everything with me. And he had murals on the wall. It's bright. It was colorful. Kids loved it there. I'd get up there. I'd leave Michigan Avenue, say at 3:00. I'd get up there about 3:34. The teacher's still in the building, still loaded. All of them working. Well, that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be a place where, see, when I was at Cleveland State, I learned from 2 administrators. I learned from Dr. Ford things you never want to do. Never want to treat people like that. If people have a job and it's a job, then they do the job. If people work because they love it, then there's no clock, right? Mm. There's a passion. Most teachers go into teaching because there's a passion, because they want to teach, because they want to make a difference in the lives of kids.
That's right.
So what I tried to do was buy into that. I tried to make that real. I tried to let them know how important they were, because at the end of the day, I'm going to say all this stuff that we did. I didn't do much of it. Teachers did it, right? I never taught a kid to read yet, but they did. And I get credit everywhere I go. Even today, people talk to me about reading, things I did in reading. Well, I didn't do anything in reading. Teachers taught reading. We put practice in. I sort of did things, but the teachers made the difference. It's people. So same when I was superintendent, I tried to make teachers feel valuable. Did we have bad teachers? Sure we did, and we got rid of a bunch of them too. That's one thing I did differently than people before me. There was sort of dance of the lemons. I want to say, when I say I'm not being derogatory to the people before me, because they were under different circumstances, different mm-hmm. rules. They were elected, and they had families, and they'd get, who they went to church with, big families, lots of votes. They maybe hire somebody who wasn't the best, mm-hmm. and they had. I would have done the same thing if I were them, probably. No doubt. I'm not. So I was the first appointed superintendent, director, so I didn't have that to worry with. I didn't have to worry about being elected. I had to worry about getting the best teachers. So anyway, so we're back to my first hand slap, big hand slap. I had lots of little hand slaps, but so I have this AR kickoff at the beginning of the year, and we have a big celebration out there, and I invited the whole community, every realtor. I invite realtors out there because I want to know who we were. I want to know what we're doing differently. I want to know about our test scores. I want to know we were doing well. We were
Now-
not some little county school out there. We were a
Now-
good school.
Also, this is, I mean, let's not forget, computers are becoming available
Yes.
to make this possible, right?
Yes. We started with the little Apple IIe's, little buy these little quizzes, stuck them in there. But by the end, we had real technology, that would work better.
Yeah.
But at any rate, so kids were reading, and our scores were going up, and our librarian was having a hard time. She was old school. Kid lose a book. He can't another book this year. I said, yes, he can. He gonna get books because he gonna have these books to read. So anyway, she finally resigned after a couple of years, and because our library circulation went from 6,000 books a year to over 100,000 books a year. Our library circulation.
Wow.
We had books in every room. Another thing about it, we had little libraries. We had almost little classroom libraries that had hundreds of books in them. Because if a kid finished reading a book in second grade, I want them to just go get one. I want them to get another book then. If they had more time that day, they could read.
Yeah.
So anyway, I put some stuff in the paper back in the day. Banner was still published every day about we were doing this reading. And if you had books, instead of selling them at a yard sale, donate them to school. We got tons of books donated. But Toby McKenzie, who, if you don't know, Toby McKenzie was he was big in that early on checking the cash type deal. I don't know what his was called, but
I can't remember.
He called me up and he said, Bob, you don't know me. He said, well, this Toby McKenzie, you don't know me. I said, well, yeah, I do. But I didn't say it like that. But I mean, everybody knew who he was at the time.
Yeah.
So he said, but when I went to Cleveland High School, your wife treated me like I was somebody, treated me good. She didn't berate him or belittle him or something. He was poor at the time. And so I'm going to give you, I don't have any books to donate, but I'll give you $500. Buy some books. So I bought books. Every book we bought, we put his label in, put Toby and Brent McKenzie in it. So the next year, I had him come out there to school. I said, Toby, I want you to see what you've done. So I did set up a little bit there because I had to make sure. I went in a room. Dana Yost was a teacher in that room, I'm pretty sure, fourth grade room. We walked in that room. I knew every kid in the room. I knew basically every kid in the school. So I walk in there and I said, Susie, what book you reading? She said, XYZ. And Joe, what book you reading? I said, let me see that book. He bring it up there and he said, Toby McKenzie. I said, Toby, look at this. You donated that book. So that day, we went in a bunch of rooms, did that sort of thing. And Toby said, you know these kids? I said, yeah. That day he gave me $1,000. And he gave me money every year to buy books for kids. And he cared because when he was in school, he was sort of like I was when I was in school. Nobody knew him. He was an athlete. He got recognition as an athlete, but he was smart. He was genius smart, right? But he didn't do well in school. But he was a genius. But it mattered to him that I knew the kids. Jackie Evans was another one, a big partner out there. Jackie Evans, I remember David when I got the job, he said, Jackie Evans, haul whatever you need, but he's not going to give me money. So I went over and talked to him about hauling something. I didn't ask him any money. But Jackie Evans played ping pong. I learned he played ping pong. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll go out and play ping pong with you. So he has a gym in his house, had a whole gym. Had 2 tables set up there. His son-in-law was good, Todd, who's deceased. But Todd was a really good player. And so I'd go out there and play with him. And of course, I could hold on. I could win against those guys.
Did you let him win, though?
No, I didn't let him
Okay.
win. I didn't let him
just
win. Heck
checking.
no, I wasn't going to let him win.
Once an
I wasn't
athlete,
gonna let
always an
Jackie win.
athlete.
No.
I was just checking.
No, I didn't let him win. But we developed a relationship with Jackie. So when I started this reading program, he said, I want to give you some prizes to give the kids. I told him what we're doing, trying to get them to read more. So every year he'd donate bicycles. He'd donate this. So he said, I'm going to give you some money for bicycles. And I said, well, I'd rather have some small. I said, I want to get. I said, well, bicycles, what we're going to get, Jackie. That's what you want to get. That's what we're going to get. So that's another thing. I think when you're taking money from somebody, if they've got something they want to do with it, that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Now he gave way more than that. I'm saying that started off that way, but he gave tons and tons of money to that school for reading because he saw it was making a difference. His grandkids went there, so anyway, it makes a difference. So we got reading going now. We got practice going. Community's buying in. And so I had this big kickoff program. This is probably about, I don't know when, now probably about 1980s, 96 or 7 by now. Really, really cruising with this. So I invited every realtor in the town out there to this big kickoff. And I said, now I want to tell you something. We're going to do an hour of practice here every day in reading. I'm telling all these people, all the dignitaries, Senator John Dunn was a U.S. representative. Duncan was a U.S. representative. I had WAMP representative. I had U.S. congressmen there. I had state senators, state representatives, and realtors. And so I said, no, I'm going to tell you, our scores are going up. We're going to spend an hour in reading every day. That means we're not going to do as much time in some other stuff, right? Because you got this many hours. We're going to spend an hour reading practice. We're still going to teach reading. Still going to have your reading class. Still going to have math class. Those are really critical. And then we're going to have an hour of practice. That's going to come from somewhere. We're going to take it from social studies, science, we're going to take it other places. So if our test scores go down, you blame me. Don't blame these teachers. You blame me. I want to be straight up front right there. That's where the buck was going to stop with me. So I was called down to the central office the next day, and they put that in the paper or something like that. And they said, they put the paper down there. I said, did you say that? I said, I said that. You were there. But it was like a reprimand, like, well, state said. I said, well, that's what we're doing. We're going to do it. Well, our scores went up. Our scores went way up. And I got, and by that point, I'd been there maybe 7 or 8 years by then. It took 3 or 4 years to get things rolling. Well, I tell you, the other thing we did that really turned that school around, in my opinion, I didn't want to be a little county school. I wanted to be a school of excellence. I wanted to be a good county school. I wanted to be the county school. I want to be the best school. So when I was chairman of the Bradley County Principal Association one year, and I had Paul Kahn come and talk to all the regional principals, not just Bradley County, Cleveland City, McMinn, all those guys. Uh-huh. And Paul was talking about when he was doing a postdoctoral thing at Harvard. Harvard's a school you probably heard of. Yeah. This one professor up there would always say, he would always reference other schools as schools of no particular distinction. He said, my goal at Lee is to not be a school of no particular distinction. He wanted Lee to be a school of particular distinction, right? Paul Kahn turned that school around, right? He made it a big university. He was a great leader. Well, that's what I wanted from him. I didn't want to be a school. I want to be a school of excellence. I didn't want to be just a little county school. I didn't want to just go play golf every day. I was committed to making a difference in those kids. Well, so anyway, I got a reprimand for that because I said that. Well, I didn't care because by then we were rolling, and so I got several more.
So as a guy who, self-admittingly, you were teaching yourself some phonics even late in your college.
You bet.
Where were you getting the foresight to, hey, let's get the reading comprehension up at the school, and everything else is going to improve?
Well, one, I'd lived with my wife, and I'm a teacher for a long time. I'd lived with her mother. I didn't live with her, but her mother was there. We'd get together. They talk about education, right?
Yeah.
They talk about reading. Reading was the most important thing. So I go to Michigan Avenue. I'm saying reading is the most important thing. Well, we're doing it. We got good reading instruction, but our reading is staying where it is. Our reading was not growing like it should have grown. Well, so it turns out that practice is the key. You can read. If you don't read, you're not going to become better at reading. You can know the skills. I knew the skills, right? I didn't know I knew them, but I could read. Mm-hmm. I didn't become a good reader until I went to college. I became a good reader when I had to read. You had to read these books. You had to read this stuff. Yeah. So I became more proficient. I could read more quickly. I could comprehend better, all that. Well, that's what it was about. It's just about practice, repetition, just like hitting that forehand. Hit 1,000 forehands, you're going to be better if you hit 5. You know how to hit it, but if you don't do it, you're not going to be good at it. So
Well, you left a lasting legacy of reading at Michigan Avenue, because I too am married to an elementary school teacher who then became a middle school teacher who then now teaches at Walker Valley. But my Sarah taught at Michigan Avenue.
Uh-huh.
And when I moved from teaching related arts I spent a life under, Bill Winters and Ron Spangler where I got to create curriculum.
Yeah.
And then I got put in the social studies classroom and I needed like more structure. And I went straight to my elementary school wife, who was also a building level teacher of the year at Michigan Avenue, who had been teaching reading with the best of them and brought so much of what I needed, even though, I had been teaching for 11 years before I got in the social studies classroom.
Yeah.
And I know, like you keep mentioning your wife, oh my word, I have learned so much from her just from teacher to teacher.
Yeah.
And then all three of my boys came through Michigan Avenue. And we love some AR because we went on AR field trips.
Yeah.
Now, did y'all ever do AR field trips?
We did. We started.
Yeah.
So I
love those.
We did those with Black Fox. We had this. So you find fun things to do as best you can. So I remember we did had a ski show out at Tommy Newman's Lake. It was Tommy. I think he was in Black Fox's zone.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have kids at the time, I don't think. But Haley Runyon was out there. He lived near Tommy and had that lake with him.
You've been to that lake. You know where he's talking about? You remember basketball parties at the Pierce house?
Yes, that's the lake?
That's Tommy Newman's lake.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, Tommy's Lake. So we would have a ski show every year, and he had great skiers, and I could ski at the time, and so I would go out and barefoot, and Tommy would barefoot, and we'd just do different stuff out there. And
So as a student, I could go to this and watch my principal do all this?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And so Elizabeth Kaler she was first grade when we hired her. Well, she was first grade as long as I was there. She was a great teacher. But I got her to go and ride a wave runner. Well, she didn't want to go. She didn't want, but the kids wanted to see it, right?
Yeah.
Of course they did.
So she rides a wave runner. I went over a ski jump out there one time and busted my leg up pretty good. But it's just doing things for fun that kids want to see.
Yeah.
The Bank of Cleveland, Scott Taylor was president. It still is. I know it's sold, but Scott and his dad Bobby were good. They would support us. They cooked hamburgers for that cookout out there.
Yeah.
They were really good. So getting good business support was important. Getting the community buy-in was important. But everybody knows if you got. I know I've been retired now for 15, 16, 17 years. But even then, everybody bought into literacy. So I'll tell you what, another Sharing Plow, Dr. Scholl, Sharing Plow, they were one of our partners, and they opened our library one night a week for years, even after I left.
Oh, wow.
They would come, and they check books in and out of the library. We trained our staff how to check them in and out. So some of the most rewarding things for me, Kathy Carnes was a third grade teacher at Michigan Avenue. And one day she comes and she said, Mr. Taylor, you got to do something. You got to help me. So this dad's in my classroom, came to read. So the last 30 minutes of the day was reading at that time. Said, the dad come in to read with his son, which we wanted to do, but he doesn't have a shirt on. Said, well, you got to do something. You got to get him out. So I went down and called him out. I said, come up in my office for a minute. I said, let me give you a shirt. I had an old t-shirt. I gave him a t-shirt. I said, really appreciate you coming in to read, but you got to have a shirt when you come to school. So, but it's just, but I was so proud that the guy was there reading.
Yeah,
Kathy was
100%.
having a panic but anyway, that brings me, I'll have to go ahead with a mouse story because this is a similar kind of story. So we were doing reading the last 30 minutes a day. Tim Riggs was teaching PE. Well, if you had any class that wasn't an actual classroom, you had to go to other classes to help them read. So I wanted Tim reading with kids. I wanted I to be reading with kids. I wanted everybody reading with kids.
Wow.
So on this particular day, Tim's in my office. It's, 15, 20 minutes before school's out. We've got reading going on school-wide. So library's a busy place. Library's happening. Every teachers all day, during that period, they could just go down and get books. Another reason library didn't like me. Librarian didn't like me. But I think, I don't know, it's Kathy Carnes, some teacher comes in there, panic. Oh, you got to help us, What are you talking about? You got a mouse in the library. You got him trapped. I said, you got a mouse trapped? Well, throw the trap out. No, he's not trapped now. He's in the garbage can. I said, well, throw the garbage can out. Oh, no. So I said, come on, Tim, I'm going to show you what principals really do. So we go down there. And by then there are 4 or 5 teachers. And the library had a sort of like that door, but it was half glass, not just a little bit of glass, half glass in the librarian's office. So they've got a pizza box sitting on a garbage can. There was a wrapper, a plastic garbage bag in the garbage can, and a pizza box on top of it. Taking a little mouse sitting there looking at me, just smiling. I said, "Great, Mother Bear, no wonder, Mouse, here you're feeding him pizza. Well, Mouse wouldn't want to come here." So anyway, Tim says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I said, Tim, the teacher said, he's going to get out. He's going to get out." I said, "I ain't going to get out." So Tim, we close the door so the mouse can't get on those teachers, right? They're all standing there looking at it. He's going to get out. He's like, yeah. So I said, "Tim, give me a bag." So what are you going to do? I said, "I'll double bag him." He said he's going to get out. I said he ain't going to get out. So I'll tie it back up. I'm tying that bag up. That mouse comes up, runs up my arm. When he does, scares me. I went, "Whoa!" I yelled. I threw that mouse. Well, I did. I saw it land on Tim's leg. His PE teacher ran up his shorts, right up his shorts. He's woo-hoo, jumping up. Those teachers going crazy. Finally knocks the mouse out of his shorts, runs under a hole. Never see it. Mouse probably ran home and had a heart attack or something. Most every feeling I've ever had. That mouse, his paws run up you, they stick to you. I guess how they climb up walls and stuff, just stick to you.
Wow.
And then ran up Tim's leg in his pants. He goes, "Ah!"
School life. I love it. You never know what you're going to get.
So another sort of related, not related to that, but so I did things I came from sort of Michigan Avenue families. I could relate to them because I grew up like them. My parents never owned their own home till I went to college. Rented, moved some. Wouldn't trade them for anything in the world. Those days were good days.
Sure.
But we grew up very differently than my daughter's grown up, say, or most people in our circles. Jennifer's circle, for example. Jennifer grew up in Cleveland. She didn't know Michigan Avenue existed. She knew about it. You know, Toby was from that area.
Now, I tell people all the time, I'm straight out of Rollingbrook.
Yeah.
And you know what that means.
I know Rollingbrook. But 15th is 15th Avenue, 15th Street downtown is a little bit. That's gut level.
That's
So Elizabeth Kale, we hire her. She's a great teacher. Now I'll tell you something else. I knew I had Michigan Avenue turning around when we hired Elizabeth, because her mother was a consummate teacher in the city. I mean, she was highly thought of, and the city would like to have had Elizabeth. And the first one of those I got was Dwayne Shriver's daughter. Dwayne was a supervisor in the city, and his daughter came to Michigan Avenue. But we worked hard on those. We recruited them. Mm-hmm. So like when we were working with Lee in those days, when he got a student teacher that we wanted, we worked on them.
Now, when I was in first grade, there was a next door teacher to me named Miss Kaler.
Yeah.
Is that Elizabeth Kaler?
No, that's a different Miss Kaler.
Okay, I thought so.
This is Elizabeth was with a K.
Yeah, I didn't think the ages added up.
No.
Yeah.
Miss Williams, Novella Williams, Miss Kaler, and Charlotte Adcott were first grade teachers, and they were all good. We had Jane Finch was a second grade teacher that was as good as it was.
She was my second grade.
She was. What you want is you want to have a class that is no nonsense, but you want to know the kids are going to learn when they're in there too. Well, Jane was that kind of teacher. When I went to Michigan Avenue that first day, I had written my own rules too for me. Never raise my voice to a teacher in public. Never criticize a teacher in public. I did only one time in my 10 years that I can recall raise my voice, and I did Jane Finch. So in those days, you wanted a faculty picture, but you had to get everybody, the faculty in one place. It means your kids are in their room. So I wanted to get it done concisely, quickly. Well, I get down there and she's piddling around doing something. I said, "Jane, get up here now." So I regretted that I did it, but I felt under the gun to get kids back under supervision. At any rate, I don't know what I was talking about now.
Jane, you raised your voice at a teacher, Jane.
Yeah. It was prior to that.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say, if that's the worst that you did as an administrator, you did pretty doggone good.
Well, I don't know if it's worse, but
yeah, you were just talking about having teachers. Jane was the type of teacher.
Yeah, Jane. Yeah. So you wanted teachers that. I mean, all the teachers were good. Now, when I went there, a couple of them weren't, and there were teachers that were okay, but all of them were teachers that. So my rule was, my gut was, my check was, if I wouldn't want Mary Elizabeth in that class, I didn't want anybody else put their kid in that class.
I get that.
So those 2 teachers I told you about,
Mm-hmm.
there was no way on God's green earth I'd put my kid in that class.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Elizabeth, well, I sold my house and moved. I'd done whatever I had to do. She wasn't going to be in that class.
Yeah.
So I knew I couldn't put other kids in that class. So after that first year I did that, the next year she was gone because I couldn't do it. I mean, how can I put your kid in that class if I wouldn't let my kid be in that class?
Mm-hmm.
It's a fair question.
Now, I mean, I would have. I mean, there's one thing to have preferences, but if you would not do it, you got a problem.
Yeah.
And so we dealt with those kinds of issues. And the good thing was every teacher in the building knew it. Every teacher in the building knew that needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to say anything, but they knew it needed to be done. And so that helped with respect. Well, I told you I was going to classes every day. That helped with respect because at the end of the day, they knew that I was serious. I was trying to learn. I wanted to learn, but I also wanted them to know that I supported them. So even that teacher that I talked about, I never disciplined her in public and never talked to her in public. I had a behavior problem for her. I had an intensive behavior plan for her.
Mm-hmm.
It was between her and me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so
Now,
yeah, we had
can I
great
say the name
teachers.
Robbie Winters, and you know that he was a Michigan Avenue principal,
I did.
and he used to visit classes every day,
Yeah.
and I think he did some singing and some dancing.
Yeah. No,
Did you do some singing and some dancing when you visited
I
these
did
classes?
some dancing one time, or AR challenge. I danced on the roof. So William Lamb, you know William Lamb, you don't know William. He's got his doctorate now. He was at Lee at the time. He was a bus driver at the time. Or this is early on.
I know that name.
He's I don't know what he does at Lee, but he's got his PhD now. He was a youth minister at Durkee Road Church of God. He drove a bus for Calfees. He married a Calfee. And he would come in every day and he'd say, you got to do something. You got to do something because we got to do something, you know. So I'm going to have a tent revival down there. We're going to see if we can save some of these kids. I said, well, go ahead and save them this year, and then you save them next year, and you save them next year. We can do something better than that. Maybe. So we end up renting a house downtown with Cleveland Bank. Cleveland really rented the house, but we got the house and down on 8th Street. And every Wednesday we would go down and have tutoring after school. And William did some of that, and we would get volunteers from Lee, and they'd come in and tutor the kids. And at the end, it was after school, so nobody was obligated to be there, so you could have a Bible study time, that sort of thing, have a circle time. So it was all to help. My thing was, you know, if you want to do something, I want to save. I mean, I want to be saved too. I don't want any kid to not be saved. But the point I was making was, if you just go once a year, you're not going to do any good for those kids.
Mm-hmm.
So you can save them now, you can save them next year, but you got to do something different. So by doing it on a weekly basis, you get to help them through the year, and then you can also let them see an example, by example, how you live and stuff, and you can be a lot better witness. My dad said, "Your life is the only Bible some people will ever read."
Yeah.
So that's sort of what I've tried to
Yeah.
emulate, I guess.
Now you're going to dance on the roof.
So I'm going to dance on the roof. So I got William Lamb, who could really dance. And so I did the unknown comic thing. I went back. I got on the roof. He got up there ahead of time. He was on the roof back behind the chimney or something. So I went up there, and he came out. Remember the unknown comic on Saturday Night Live? Anyway, had a paper bag over his head. He came out. He danced. He could really dance. So teachers were, I couldn't see it. They were telling me later, teachers said, "That's not him. He made us do all this work. He does, and he's not doing.
So you were posing that was you.
Yeah, yeah. So he had khaki pants, blue shirt, just my attire. He was my size basically, and so he was out there. And they said, "That's not him. That's not him. That's not. He can't dance like that. That's not him." so anyway, then I came out, and I don't know, they did the background or something. I did something stupid. I couldn't dance. I couldn't dance a lick. I couldn't dance then. Can't dance now. But anyway, so I danced on the roof for him.
Now, Tim Riggs says did that make some students mad or something?
I don't know.
He had said how he made all the students mad when he was supposed to dance on the roof of the school, is what he said.
Yeah, I did. I did.
Okay.
But it's the teachers that got mad, not the students. The teachers, the kids might have gotten mad, but the teachers incensed that. They said, so they're saying, "That's not him. That's not him." He's
They just wanted to see you embarrass yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I did go out and embarrass myself
Yeah.
after that, but they were. I don't know if no one knew William was up there. I don't think. Well, maybe Henrietta did, my secretary, but she might have told somebody. But anyway,
Yeah.
they could figure it out because they knew I couldn't dance.
Yeah, I did some investigating. I used to do that for a living.
Yeah.
And Tim Riggs gave me some words. One of those was Great Mother Bear, and we've already heard you say that,
You sure
which is
did.
hilarious. When I told you earlier, I was the Ocoee Middle SRO at one time,
Yeah.
and there was an assistant principal there named Denny Collins.
Yeah.
You know Denny.
I know Denny.
And he used to say all the time, "Oh, this jerk face over here." Well, I've been tracing that back because I didn't know this was your word,
Yeah.
but I've been tracing that back. I know he's from the Paul Cretton coaching tree,
Yeah.
and that you are Paul Cretton's from the Bob Taylor coaching tree.
Yeah.
So you see the links I just made there?
Yeah.
I did.
Where'd you pick that up? Because I know where I picked it up.
I don't know where I picked it up. I think I just made it up. I don't know. Jerk face. See, to me, when I have something, a little cross stitch at home jerk face. My secretary did for me when I was at Cleveland State. I just see jerk face is a good word because you can say it if you're mad at somebody. You can say you like somebody.
Yeah.
That jerk face did that. It could be your best friend, or that jerk face. I can't believe them. So it's just a word that fits everybody. Just use it for whatever.
If somebody's cross stitching, you've used it enough
yeah,
to make it famous.
yeah. So jerk face. Yeah, that's a pretty good word.
Hey, you mentioned a name a few minutes ago, Dana Yost.
Yeah.
So I'd like to read something else if that's okay with you.
Okay.
Bob Taylor taught me many things throughout my career, but one lesson that has stayed with me is to be satisfied is to be finished. That mindset has shaped the way I approach my work and my career in Bradley County schools. Bob taught me to keep growing, keep learning, and never settle for good enough. I'm grateful for the wisdom, encouragement, and example he has given me over the years. And Bob, I'm still working on being satisfied, but I'm pretty sure that's exactly the point. She left a couple questions for you as well. You care
Okay. I don't care.
First, Mr. Taylor, you're known for being quite the athlete, so I have to ask, how is it that a man with your athletic ability was completely defeated by that mouse in the library?
Hey, mouse got me.
Oh, let's see. And this one will lead us back to a Tim Riggs thing. She says, Mr. Taylor, you seem to have a sixth sense for knowing exactly when to leave the Michigan Avenue campus, usually just minutes before a tornado, hailstorm, or some other catastrophe decides to roll through. Meanwhile, poor Tim Riggs was left behind to handle the aftermath. Was this exceptional leadership, impeccable timing, or did you just have a secret weather app the rest of us didn't know about?
So that one, in spring, every day in Bradley County there's a thunderstorm or potential storm or something going on, but most of them never happen. But when they do, so that particular spring, there was thunderstorms every day, potential tornadoes. You know how weather people do. So there's 1 in 5 chance, and they'll build it up, hype it up. And 9 times out of 10, or nine times out of 100, doesn't happen. Well, so this day, they were saying thunderstorm. Well, so I was going to the Banner into the central office. I had to run an article to the Banner. It was probably on a Friday because I wanted to be in Sunday's paper. So I was timing it out. So I wanted to get there and get it. I wanted to talk to George Starr, whoever's doing it. I want to get it like I wanted it. And so I'm going to run to the Banner. I'm going to run Central Office and be back. Henry says, you know it's going to storm. I said, it's not going to storm. They said every day. It's never stormed yet. So I take off. I go. I'm at the Banner. I'm talking to George. And I mean, the hail starts hitting that metal. It was a metal building. Sounded like it's going. I said, oh my gosh, I got to go. So I run out. This is way back in time. No cell phones, anything like that. So I start back to school. My truck's getting hammered with hail. And at the time where that climbing place is now, High Point Climbing, the rock place there on 25th, there was a gas station. I pulled under the awning, ran in and said, let me use your phone. I grab her phone, try to call me, can't get. So I said, I've got to go. I ran back out there, get the car. As I get closer to Michigan, I'm turning on Benton Pike, going down Benton Pike. I mean, trees are in the road, grass. I'm going. Wind, leaves are everywhere. You see where the storm's been.
Ugh.
I get there. By the time I get there, by then it's over, right? But it's been. So Tim, everybody, Sheree Morgan, 5th grade teacher.
We know that name.
Yeah, and Randall Ferguson's wife,
Carolyn.
They were under a table in the library, under a table saying, "I hear a train. I hear the train." They were saying, because they said a tornado sounds like a train, like it's going to take a hit. So they got under they left their kids. They left their kids, and they go get under a table. So I had a substitute teacher there that day. Renee Beatty, Lambert.
Yeah.
Renee Lambert. She was a student teacher. She was a substitute teacher. She was just she was calm as a cucumber. Got kids in the hall. She took Sheree's class. Dennis Royer helped out with her class. And Tim, we had those days we had a portable out back. Had portable kindergarten. We're in portable. Well, so loud on there, they didn't hear the announcement to go to the hall. So they're out there in their portable. Somebody finally says, "Where's Miss Kane's class or where's Miss Rutledge's class?" Jim says, "Oh my gosh, oh my!" So he runs out there. He said, "Okay, kids, go to the building. Run, don't walk. Run, don't walk." So he was coming by that little 5th grade pod building. There's a little outside hall at that time. So like a wind tunnel. So the wind was blowing those kids. He grabbed those kids. So anyway, he was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Tim handled that one fairly well, except he left about 40 kids out there to be at the mercy in the most vulnerable building, left them out there on their own, fended off.
Oh man.
So you mentioned the name George Starr.
Yeah.
So I played some basketball at Lee University, and George Starr is a big deal in my life, and he still is a big deal in my life. Tell me more about your connection with George.
I met George. I played softball when I first moved to Cleveland. I played fast pitch softball, or it was modified pitch actually. Ed Coates and
Love that guy.
See, the other team was Dr. Chiropractor, Keith Mills. Keith Mills had a team. So they were the 2 best teams around. I was on Superior's team. We had Stevie Williams, Denny Williams, Mark Williams, Tom Lush, Will Harris.
Oh, wow.
We had a good team. and Keith had a good team too. And so we would play. And George, I met George during that era of playing ball. And then I coached softball at Cleveland State the first 2 years because I'd played fast pitch softball in Maryland when I was in college and right out of college. In 2 years I was in Columbia. I went back up and played some. So modified was for me. It was a piece of cake. I mean, it was just like I don't know. I probably batted about 700 that year because I batted left-handed. I could run, so I'd just hit the ball on the ground, shortstop, and beat it out most of the time. In those days, I could run. Now I can't walk, so I can't run. But anyway, so I met George during that time. Made good friends, lifelong friends from softball. So anybody calls me Bobby or Bobby Red Shoes or something like that, it goes back to softball.
Bobby Red Shoes.
Bobby Red Shoes.
That's who you are from now on. This very moment right here.
Oh,
I love it.
Bobby Red Shoes. That's a good one. Were you batting left-handed just because you bowled left-handed?
No. I batted left-handed my whole life.
Oh, okay. You just learned that.
I learned. My grandmother lived on a farm, and I would like to go spend the night with her. And I learned. My grandfather didn't have a baseball bat, but had just some axe handle stuff like that. I would take one of those, and she would throw this red rubber ball at me, and I'd hit it. I just from the beginning, bad left hand, didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So by the time I got, we moved to Salisbury, and I got into Little League, minor league, whatever. I was about probably 9 years old the first year I was there. I was bad left-handed. That's where I learned to hit. So first year I played in Little League. Not in those days you had minor league. Then Little League started at 10, 11, 12. I played in Little League. I went and I had hush puppy shoes on because I didn't have any baseball shoes. And I got 3 or 4 hits. I did very well in that game. And so my mom said afterwards, she said, I'll get you some shoes. And
you're going to have to tell me what hush puppy shoes are.
They're just like they were old dress shoes, little dress shoes, just a little dress shoe. They were soft leather though, soft soled shoe. They were hand-me-down from somebody, I'm sure, but they were just hush puppies. I know that's what they were. They were just little shoes that you shouldn't play ball in.
Not made for the diamond.
No.
So your mom said she'd have to get you some shoes.
Yeah, so I'm sure she did. I don't know how they got them, but they got them. So from then on, I had baseball shoes.
Well, listen, you're almost going down my list. You mentioned the name Cherie Morgan. I'd like to read you something else, if that's okay.
Okay.
Now, this one's lengthy, but I can't. I'm just not going to edit her words, okay? When I walked through the doors of Michigan Avenue Elementary School as a 21-year-old teacher in 1991, I had no idea how much the next 10 years would shape the educator and the person that I would become. I can honestly say there was never a day I didn't look forward to going to work. We were a family, and we had the best of times while changing the face of our school from one of the poorest schools in Bradley County to a school where parents were willing to drive 20 miles for their children to attend. So much of that was because of Bob. He was our boss, our motivator, our visionary, our challenger, our leader, our advocate, our prankster, our storyteller, and sometimes even our father figure. And for so many of us, he became a lifelong friend. Bob could be tough, and he could easily intimidate others, but I never felt that way around him.
Can I pause you just for a second?
Yes, you can.
Did you see yourself as an intimidator? Was any of that intentional?
No, it wasn't intentional, but I was aware of it. I told Jennifer it was amazing to me because I tried. Now I had high expectations of everybody.
Yeah, and that's intimidating sometimes.
So I guess, and I worked hard, and so I guess that sort of. I mean, I was trying to be the first one there, last one to leave every day, pretty much, so I had high expectations, and I did. I wouldn't say intimidation, but we had two really good teachers there that were old veteran teachers. I'm not going to say their name right now because it's a little negative, but so I hired Dana Yost and Elizabeth Kaler, and they're, I say I hired them. We set up interviews. We set up interview teams. That's another thing I did, struck a luck for the wrong reasons. I did it for the wrong reasons, I'll tell you, but it turns out to be a great thing. And so I would pick, like, say, a Cherie Morgan who'd been there, who was bought into philosophy, and another good teacher, and then I'd pick a poor teacher on the committee. I can't tell you how many times she said, "Well, I don't know if I can get this job." I said, "Well, maybe you could, maybe you couldn't, but you see expectation. I want them to understand where we are." I used to say in interviews, "We don't want to be average. If you want to be average, we don't want you here. And so if you're going to be better than average, it means you got to do more than average. You got to work harder. You got to do things." So I expect everybody to do something extra for school every year.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is, I don't care. Might be little, might be big, but I expect something because I don't want to be average. So anyway, we hired I'd hired Elizabeth Kaler and Dana Yost, and they'd bought wholly in. They're type A. They were driven. Cherie, they would be around after school working, and so one of the veteran teachers said, "I don't know why you're doing it. Nobody cares. Nobody notices." So at the next faculty meeting, I said, "I want to thank," and I named every teacher been there after school. I said, heck, fire. Yeah, somebody notices.
Yeah.
You bet your life somebody notices
That's right.
because I'm here. I notice.
And what you
And the
just
kids
described,
notice.
Danny Coggin, Jeremy Jones just was in this room at the end of last school year and said those exact same things. This is what I want Walker Valley to be, and you're going to have to do more, and I want you to find what your more is.
Yeah.
And it creates a culture of excellence. And
Yeah, it does.
Our families notice, our kids notice, our community notices, and we, as a faculty, we notice it, and we want to be a part of something
Jeremy
bigger than
Jones went to
ourselves.
Michigan Avenue. You know that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I met him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, his brother, Jason, was my age. He was my class.
Yeah. Jason's a little bit younger, isn't he? 2 years younger, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I stopped you.
Yeah.
But there is this, as an
No,
administrator,
do that.
it's people see administrators and kind of keep them on an island sometimes, and you wanted to be connected.
Daniel Pink wrote a book called "The New Money is Meaning." The new money is meaning. That's what I believe. Because in education, you don't have more money to give them, but you can make. By God, you can make what they do is the most important thing on this earth. I said there are two jobs that are most important jobs on this earth. One is being a preacher. One, you save soul forever. One is being a teacher. You change life on this earth forever.
Mm.
See,
Did you make that up? Or did you hear that somewhere?
I made it up. I
That's
guess,
pretty good.
But,
Write that
I like
down.
it. Yeah, that's
But,
good stuff.
That's good stuff.
But what my family, they're still mostly uneducated, right? And so when I would go home to Maryland, you could clearly see what education does in my family. Those that dropped out of high school have this level of socioeconomic life. I'm not saying they're bad people. They're just good people as I am. They
get it.
just don't have the same opportunities.
Sure.
High school, next level up. College, next level up. Post, next level up.
Mm.
So I was the first person in my family to ever go to college, graduate from high school, all that stuff. I think I had an uncle who graduated. I'm not sure if he did or not, but no one else did. My parents didn't know, but they were good people. I'm not saying that education doesn't make you a better person. It gives you more opportunities. And so that's mostly socioeconomic, but it's more than socioeconomic too, because it just is. It's friends, it's everything. So anyway, that's just, I'm interrupting, but I think it's so important.
Well, I interrupted too. All right, Cherie, go.
No, that's good. I want you to do that. When something jumps out to you,
Yeah.
stop me. We'll come back to it. We'll
Yep.
finish her words. Where was we? He could easily intimidate others, but I never felt that way. He challenged me, pushed me, sometimes even picked on me, but mostly believed in me. I grew up as an educator under his leadership. One quote Bob shared with our faculty over and over was a statement by John Dewey.
Yep.
That which we want for our best and brightest students, we must want for all students. Bob didn't just believe those words, he lived them out every single day. What a privilege it was to watch him do it and to be one of the many people whose life and career he helped shape. Bob, I will always be grateful that at 21 years old, I walked through those doors and you became part of my story. Thanks to you, I'm still motivated to do my best for others because you did that for me. You are the best of the best. That's good.
That's what you hope. That's what you do. That's why you do what you do. That's why we all do what we do. John Dewey said, "What the best and wisest parents want for their children, that must we want for all children."
Mhm.
That was the actual quote. What the best and wisest parents want and so that's what I said. I'll tell you what I want for Mary Elizabeth. I want the best for her.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I want a good education. I want her to be treated good. I want her not be yelled at unless she needs to be yelled at. I want her to be disciplined. I want her to turn out good. I want the very best life she can have. That's what I want for every kid that comes through Michigan Avenue's doors. So that's why, and so I saw Danny's interview and talked about culture. Well, when we talked, I was at Michigan Avenue by then. I was near the end of my tenure when he started here. In fact, I started at the central office in 2000, and he was hired like a month before I got there or something like that.
Hired
as well, I don't know,
promoted,
whatever. Yeah,
Okay.
from band.
Yeah.
So he worked in the central office with me a lot of that first year that I was there. We talked a lot about culture. See, what I think is that lots of times high school people teach subjects. I think we teach as children. You teach people. You teach relationships. So Jerry Fraser, all the way to Jerry Fraser had him saying, kids must know how much you care before they care how much you know. Well, I believe that.
I do too.
I think relationships are critical. And so Jerry hired me. Jerry was a good administrator, in my opinion. In those days, it was elected, though. And so elected superintendents just had a different road to go than appointed. So David followed him. I followed David. So 3 superintendents in a row in Bradley County from Michigan Avenue. Jerry's Michigan Avenue, Bradley, and then David's Michigan Avenue.
Now, where's the line of an elected superintendent to director of schools?
At 2000. In the year 2000, every superintendent in the state of Tennessee had to be appointed. So they had changed the name up to director then.
Yep.
Tennessee's directors of schools, superintendents are still superintendents everywhere in this country except in Tennessee.
Yep.
So I remember, like, the Tennessee Organization of School Superintendents is really directors of school, but it's because it's affiliated with the national organizations. So you're truly a school superintendent. You're just called a director because you're appointed, not elected.
What can I tell you? That sets me at ease because in our conversation on text messages, I referred to you as the superintendent and I kicked myself the whole
No,
time
no.
because
I think of myself more as superintendent, but
It's like, I got
because
it wrong.
I mean, I understand director of schools, and in Tennessee, it's proper to be director of schools. But in reality, like when I retired from Bradley County, I worked for Vanderbilt, and I worked with all the superintendents in the state of Tennessee, and not just Tennessee, but other areas. So it's more common to be known as a superintendent. It is the job. It delineates, though, they changed it so that there would be no confusion between being elected and appointed. Because for a while, like for example, Dr. Yates in the city was appointed. He wasn't elected. And so he was a director of schools from the day that went into effect, like before David was, or I was. Because David was elected, so he served out his elected term. And then I was appointed. So then I had a different set of rules. Like, for example, I didn't have to worry about getting somebody. It didn't matter to me where you went to church or what farm you grew up on or how many family members you had, because I didn't have to get votes. I had to do the right job.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say is I was late in my career when I got the job, which was a blessing for me because I could, in good faith, do what I thought was best, what needed to be done. I didn't have to worry about getting votes. I didn't have to worry about losing my job. Okay, because I lost my job, I was still okay.
Yeah.
And so I could do the right thing to the best of my ability every day. There was still, I'm not saying you're in a political free world, but there's still politics involved. But basically, I knew that every day I had to go to sleep for the rest of my life knowing that I gave my best, and so that's what I tried to do.
Yeah.
If I mention the name Dr. Dan Lawson,
Yeah, Dan Lawson.
you know that fellow,
I do know him well.
Yeah. So I'm working on my EDS right now.
Okay.
And I've had him a couple times in the last
Yeah.
couple semesters, and he really has spoken into my life. I mean, he has become something really
Dan is very good. He was a
significant.
very good superintendent. Dan put together the best professional development I've ever had in my life as a superintendent, as an administrator. Really.
Tell me more about that.
We went, he was in the military. He got us, he took, I don't know how many, maybe 5 or 6 superintendents from the state of Tennessee, Georgia, all around. We got on a big cargo plane and flew to Parris Island, and we spent a week on Parris Island, leadership by the Marines.
How about that?
That was amazing.
Wow.
Because, at the time it might have been 2004 or something like that. I'd been superintendent for years. I'd seen the struggles that we were having, kids at Bradley, Walker Valley, dropping out or struggling, or not just, but those same kids, when they're in Marines, in about, I don't know how long boot camp is or that training period, but probably about 15, 16 weeks, they turn them into young men. But there, they've got no choice. There's a different set of rules there. I don't know if you've ever watched any of the movies about the Crucible. It's called the Crucible. That training period is called the Crucible. At the end, you get your Crucible, you become a Marine. You're not a Marine until you get that Crucible. My dad was a Marine. That Crucible meant that you were a Marine, and when you were a Marine, by golly, you had to do what Marines do. You couldn't show up or not show up. You had to show up. And we went out. Well, like the water training. You've seen the SEALs training where you dump them in the water with a backpack on. Those kids can't swim. They got to get in that water anyway. It's a pool over their head, and they got to survive. Well, so that's tough stuff. But they make it. They made it. They make it through, and they get their Crucible.
Did he have you all out in the water?
No, we didn't go in the water.
Okay.
We went in though. We went in at night. Got all the yellow. That's called the yellow footsteps that the Marines go through, and those drill sergeant came out and treated us like we were a recruit.
Yeah.
So you got to hear that stuff, see that stuff, feel that stuff. No, that's all. After that, we went to our own place. We didn't stay in the Marine banks or what. I mean, we stayed in the Marine Corps, and we stayed there on campus, but on Parris Island. But
you did get to experience where they get off the bus
yeah,
and
yeah,
put their
yeah,
feet
yeah,
on the.
yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, it was neat, really special, and but also General McManamy, I think was the general's name who was there. So we had all these various Marines. Gosh, that brings back a horrible story for me too. But at any rate, he said that they talked about public relations, Marines and how you get recruits and all that stuff and how challenging it is. But he said that, so this is a general talking. So when he took the job there, he had it for 2 years. He knew it was going to be there for 2 years, 2-year assignment. He had to build new barracks, had to do all this stuff. So he had no choice. It had to be done. Everything had to be 100% done in 2 years when he walked out the door. So when he said jump, it was a matter of not if you're going to jump, is how high and how often and how do I tread air to keep up there. So when he gave an order, it was an order, and everybody under him had to do it. I mean, and so the order line went down the line. Whereas I was the general, say, of Bradley County Schools, but you couldn't do orders like that. You know, so it was a difference. But mostly what I learned is that those kids that we struggled with, a lot of them were good kids, bright kids. Heck, they were going to be working on plane engines that were flying over Iraq.
Yep.
They were going to be going to Iraq and fighting. They were guys that had real jobs that if they don't do their job, the plane crashes. And, you know, so they had turned these boys into men in about 16 weeks. So it was really a great learning experience for me. Also, I'll throw this. I probably about that time read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. Mm-hmm. Well, Jim, that's a book for like the military, like CEOs of companies, like Toby McKenzie when he was running his company, Alan Jones running his company. They could fire anybody they want to any day they want to. They're a general. Superintendent's not like that. So superintendent, you got to win with what you've got. So then Jim Collins finally came out with another book called Good to Great in the Social Sector. That's for public jobs. Because I played a lot of tennis. John McEnroe, I had all these quotes. John McEnroe said, the trick is you got to win with what you've got. Which means on any given day, if you're not playing well, you're backhanded, you got to figure a way to win that way. Well, as a superintendent or principal, okay, that first year I had to figure out how to win with what I had. I didn't get to go fire anybody I wanted to. Took me 2 years to get rid of a couple. I want to say get rid of, I don't mean it like that, but I had to do it because, okay, so you know who replaced the two that I'm talking about? Dana Yost, Elizabeth Kaler. So we get two of the very best ever in Bradley. I mean, I don't mean that. I mean, they're really good. But we lose our weakest link and we bring in strong growth links. Yeah. Okay? Everybody in school felt that. Everybody feels that school lifting. And then so it was just, again, I'm going to say I didn't teach anybody anything. I tried to build an environment where teachers felt valued for what they did because they're the most valuable people in the building anyway. They should feel valued. Mm-hmm. And then chips fall where they may from there.
But you took care of people. You provided opportunities. And as a 25-year teaching veteran, I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to rewind. Let's go back to you being director of schools, and you started an aspiring leadership academy.
Yeah.
I was a part of that. I was a young teacher at Akoya Middle School, and I signed up.
Yeah.
And I sat in that boardroom, and let's see if you remember this, because I'm sure you do. You spread out all kinds of books, and you said, pick one, pick two, take some. I took Good to Great, and I took John Maxwell's 360-Degree Leader.
Yeah.
And that one, that's, can you take constructive criticism from not only those above you, but can you seek it out from your peers? And can you also be humble enough to learn from people who you are actually in charge of? Yeah. So we're on day 3 right now, but I can pinpoint to that moment with you in those sessions of understanding that as leaders, we have to learn how to follow in order to be a more effective leader. And as teachers, we have to continue to be learners. Yeah. And, here at Walker Valley High School, in my sociology class, in my history classes in the last 3 days, I have introduced myself. I say it this way, as a nerd, as a learner. And I'm hanging out with kids that are on the threshold of adulthood, and I know they know some stuff I don't know. And I'm willing to say the words, I don't know. Yeah. And I think it's really powerful. But I do remind them that I know a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to teach you some things. Yeah. But I also come in with that understanding that I'm still here to learn. And I feel that about you as you've continued to tell story after story after story and almost deflect some of the things. But really, it's just, we're setting up a communal learning environment. Yeah. Administrators, teachers, too. You even said it, like the custodian really is an essential part. Our secretaries are an essential part. We're all in this together.
So
Speak to that.
I'll tell you, two things crossed my mind there as you talk about Ronnie, the custodian at Michigan. I went away from service, hired Ronnie. Ronnie loved that school. So this is my favorite story, maybe a custodian I've ever told. Ronnie has been there. I thought the world of him. He was great. He would do anything. Unlike that first one, who teachers sort of feared because he had control of some of the supply boxes and wouldn't let him get stuff if he didn't like them and all that stuff. Yeah. Some felt like he'd go into rooms and sabotage them almost. But Ronnie was just opposite. Ronnie loved the school. He'd do anything he could to help anybody. So one summer, I had run the central office or something. Ronnie was working. I don't know what he's doing. He's working around school painting. So some prospective parent comes in, says, Mr. Chan, no, he's not here. Ronnie said, look, I'll show you. He said, he took him around, showed him the mural, showed him reading, talked about what we did, showed him the library, talked about how important that was. Heck, fire, you got a custodian he's the best recruiter I got. Yep. I mean,
I love it.
Custodian knows the school that well,
Yep.
knows what you're doing, knows how you care about kids and all that stuff. He was fantastic. He was really a good man. The other thing is talk about learning stuff. I would go routinely. I would go in classes after we got into AR pretty good. And then we tried to get into nonfiction. So we would teach the difference in nonfiction. So I would go in classes and I would say, who thinks they can teach me something today I don't know? Who's read a nonfiction book? All the kids raise their hand. Who can teach me something I don't know? So one particular day, not the same day I was talking about earlier, but another day we had a big AR kickoff, and I've got dignitaries out there. I take them in these rooms, and I go in fact, I might have been gone by now. I might have been the superintendent then, but I was still familiar with Michigan Avenue's kickoff. Or maybe my last, I don't know, Dawn, she was Mall then. Johnny Mall's wife, who's divorced and married someone else now. She teaches. She was a first-year teacher. Okay. So I don't know if I'd hired her or if she was the first year after I was gone. But anyway, we walk in a room. I had these dignitaries with me. I said, who thinks they can teach me something I don't know? So I pick on Bobby, Billy, Joe. And this one little boy said, I read a book about cows. I said, what do you teach about cows? I don't know. He said, well, they have to wash their tits before you can milk them. But she just was so embarrassed to use that word. She's like, oh my gosh, what's this guy going to take? Did you know that?
Did you learn that?
Oh no,
you knew that already.
I know, but I would say, I would always say, no matter what the kids tell me, I say, oh wow, I didn't know that. On that one, I probably don't know what I said, but I just went on to the next kid. But but I did that regularly, and that's just what I did because that kids were involved in. They like reading nonfiction because they love when I come in. They teach me something I didn't know. So first graders, third graders, they'd all try to teach me stuff I didn't know.
Yeah, and
I'd always tell them they did, whatever. So I have one other story that is a little bit. I don't even know if I should tell it here, but I think I will anyway.
Please, no filtering.
And this is, I don't know when this is, maybe 2005, 6, somewhere in that range. I'm superintendent. Terry Murray is the director of Title I director. So they opened a new school in Hamilton County. Gosh, I've lost the name of it. I had to have the name of it to make the story any good, but it's a brand new school. I don't know the name of the school. But anyway, it's an all black school, all African-American school. And they were so proud of it because it was new and it had state of the art. And so they go down there and they're meeting with they had mostly superintendents and dignitaries from around. And so the principal's telling about the school and how proud she is of what they're doing there. And she said, and we've got this first year teacher. She's fantastic. You'll love her. So they all go down this first year teacher's room. I don't know her, never met her, still don't know her. But she's reading the Three Little Pigs to the class. This is like a first grade class. They're all sitting there, or kindergarten, maybe even kindergarten, but they're all sitting there, crisscross applesauce, as they say, sitting there in front of her. She's reading. They're all on every word she's saying. And the big bad wolf knocked on the door and said, little pig, not by the hair of my chin, chin, chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. And he huffed and he puffed and he blew the house down. Looking for her gentle, that son of a bitch. And so every dignitary in the room had to turn and walk out of the room. And they couldn't laugh till they're in the hall because that poor teacher, she was so embarrassed she didn't know what to do. But the point is, I said, that's a good point because kids are just a product of their environment. Yep. That kid wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just saying what he thought he had heard his mom and dad say.
Yeah.
But so many things I learned about education. I taught at T.C. Bauer. I said that was a poor area in Michigan Avenue. But we had kids who came from environments that were horrendous.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking money-wise. I'm not just talking about filthy. I'm talking about horrendous life for kids. I'm talking about abusive. I'm talking about moms being beat. I'm talking about sexual abuse stuff. That's a kid comes to school like that. They've got to have somebody who cares about them, or they're toast.
Mm.
So bottom line is you have to know your kids. So that end, that's Elizabeth Kaler story. I'll tell that quick one. One of the things I started doing at Michigan Avenue after I learned it, first of all, my wife and I adopted kids for Christmas every year, just for all the wrong reasons. I wanted my wife and daughter to see. I wanted my daughter to see part of Cleveland she had never seen, would never see.
Sure.
So that's the wrong reason to do it, but nonetheless, I was
I don't
selfish
know.
in
That
doing
might be
it.
a pretty good reason, but I understand what you're saying.
But so we would go in these homes and we would do. So you learn the kids and where they live, and I didn't know every kid where they live, but I knew a lot of them. So down at 8th Street, 15th Street, that area down there, poor trailer courts. It's an island. It's an island of county in the city right now. It's like a Littlewood Street going in, and then cities all around it, but they won't ever.
Yeah, they're
annex
not
that
going
'cause
to
there's
annex
no tax
that.
base.
No.
No tax base.
Yeah.
I would argue with the city about that periodically, just to cause some fun.
Some good trouble.
Yeah.
But
That's where I spent most of my patrol years, was right in that
Yeah.
that area.
So this one kid, Elizabeth Kaler, first year teacher, she's got this kid. She had taught at like a private Christian school or something. So she's not first year teaching, but she was upper middle class Cleveland. Her mom was a teacher in the city, really highly respected. Elizabeth, she came to school every day just like an angel. She wore these silk pants and hose and pumps and all this stuff. I mean, she was beautiful every day, dressed immaculately, perfectly. A lot of those kids, she spent more in one outfit than those kids had in their whole house for wardrobe.
Yeah.
Anyway, all that said, so Elizabeth coming and say, I'm going to make a name. Billy Bob isn't reading. He's not doing his work, not reading, not doing his homework. His mom won't send back notes. I said, Elizabeth, his mom can't read, can't write. So time goes on. She comes in one day, and I'd just about had it that day. And so I said, okay, Elizabeth, keep him after school. I'll take him home, talk to his mom. She said, good, thank you. So you're going with me.
It's a great move.
So after school, we go out. I forgot all about it because I did stupid stuff like that all the time. So I'd forgotten about it. I was down in another teacher room. Elizabeth finds me. She said, are you going to go with me? I said, what are you talking about? She said, you're going to take him home. I said, okay, let's go. We'll go. So we're probably 40 minutes after school's over before this starts, before I start taking him home. So they don't even know he's not home yet. No, he didn't. They don't know he's not on the bus or whatever.
Yeah.
The bus has been there kids have been at home in that neighborhood for 30 minutes by the time we get there at least. So we pull up this trailer. It's got a metal storm door frame, no screen or glass in the door, just the storm door. And it's summer. It's fairly early in the fall. And I knock on the door and she doesn't hear me. I can see her. She's in there. She's vacuuming. She's got a vacuum cleaner. So I knock on the door louder. She finally turns around. So I'm standing at the door knocking. Elizabeth, Billy Bob, that's not his real name. And then Elizabeth standing next to him. So the mother comes to the door, push that door. My wife had to push it open. She pushed it open, puts the biggest old wad of tobacco down, splashed up on Elizabeth's white pumps and white. I loved every minute. Elizabeth turned green. So she never bothered me anymore. Then I give the mother a lecture about, we're trying to teach you got to be supportive. You got to make sure he reads. What are you going to do? She can't read.
Yeah.
That kid, I was telling you earlier about the boy that in Miss Carnes' class, the dad who came to read with him.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably name him.
Yeah, you might could.
Yeah.
But that boy did go on and learn. I mean, he was learning to read. His dad got better at reading for having practiced with him at school. And so that's what so when Sharing Plow opened the library at night, that's what kids would come read with their parents. And some of those kids that, so it's just an environment that welcomed them in, no criticism, no harm, no foul, and by the end we had I heard Danny say this in his interview, a lot of the county people didn't really like what I was doing, but I'm saying officials, not teachers or principals. By the end, we had a waiting list. I started a waiting list before we had anybody on the waiting list. I would just tell parents we got a waiting list because I want them thinking of a place they wanted to send their kid there.
Yeah.
But by the end, we had a real waiting list, and so I would interview the parents, and on that basis, we either had room or we didn't have room. And we had one policy: we took a kid from out of our school zone, we would keep them all year, no matter what. So we had to make sure we got a good one on the front end. We didn't want to take any problems. We wanted to So anyway, that nowadays that's more understood that you can go anywhere you want to go, I guess. But in those days it wasn't. And so we got lots of kids from the city. So what I think I told you, getting Dwayne Shriver's daughter to teach for us, Elizabeth Kaler to teach for us, Becky Jenkins came to us from the city. You got some major league people coming to us from the city, and that really helped our school reputation. And then they, so you got to make sure you're delivering goods. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
When I went to Michigan Avenue, this is a true story, Foxfire, Foxfire subdivision, big subdivision.
Yeah.
Well, only one kid in that whole subdivision went to Michigan Avenue. All the rest went North Lee, out of zone.
How about that?
They were zoned to North Lee. By the end, we'd turned that around.
That's right.
Because, well, first of all, the first year I wasn't going to do it because I wasn't going to go in there and recruit kids until I knew that I could deliver the product that I wanted to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
But as we turned that around, we turned it all around. And so Michigan Avenue became a very desirable school. That's my opinion anyway, I think. I'm going to stick to it.
No,
You say that's my opinion, it'll be yours.
That's pretty well
I share
known.
that opinion.
It's pretty well known.
Yeah.
It's pretty well known. Listen, we are we're over the 2 hour mark, and
I didn't even know.
No,
time flies.
this is what
I
we
know,
do.
It
We love
flies,
it.
and
Yeah.
we could do this for 4 hours.
You can't leave someone's voice out though. What do you
No,
got left?
I do want to, if you don't mind, I did reach out to some people and ask them, hey, just give me a brief note and maybe a couple questions I could ask. So I'm going to at least finish the notes. And I think the only two people I have left, you have also mentioned, one of us has also mentioned their name. And of course, Danny Coggin sent a statement for me to pass on to you. And it simply says, I feel very fortunate to have been an administrator during the time when Bob Taylor was the director of Bradley County Schools. Mr. Taylor was masterful in shining light on the positive aspects of what was happening in the system. He helped me understand that we were to share the stories that made our schools stand out. We grew a culture of learning, growth, and giving each student a place to belong. So that's Danny, and then I had now I have two more. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay.
Now this one may have some questions in it, and if you've got time, I've got time. But just know that at some point we're gonna have to land this plane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's just see. I'll read it, and then you tell me who it is. Hey, Matt. I have a couple stories about Bob. Bob Taylor is one of the most, if not the most, competitive individuals I've ever been around. You could ask Bob about our race across a raging stream up near Gatlinburg.
I got that one.
There was seemingly no way to cross, but Bob took off running, and, well, he can tell the rest of the story. Who's this talking,
Paul,
first of all?
Paul Cretton. So, Paul, we're up there. And we're Jennifer's with us, Sandra's with us. Maybe, I don't know why we're there, some credit union function or something like that back in the day. But we're walking along this creek between Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. And there were rocks, and you get out on rocks, and you get maybe from here to, say, that wall to the other side, but you can never find it. So we're walking along, and he said, I'll bet you I can get across that thing for you. I said, I bet you can't. So we're walking, find something. So finally I see a place that maybe I've got maybe from here to that sofa arm from me to jump across after the last stone. So I go flying across there. I'm jumping on stones, getting over the last stone. I jump across, made it out, but when I hit on a rock and slid, my feet slumbering, and my thumbnail came down on one of those rocks and bent backwards, and I got all that mossy stuff from that rock under my thumbnail, and I just jumped. It hurt. I popped it back down. Well, then it was stuck under there. I couldn't pop it back up again. It took like months for that to grow out. But
so you wouldn't lose to Paul.
Yeah, I'm not going to lose Paul.
Now, I've been downstairs at Walker Valley. I spent 12 years coaching, and, a lot of that was here.
Yeah.
And I'd come in at random times, and Paul and Bob would be battling it out at the ping pong table. Is that a true story I'm telling?
That's true.
Yeah.
So my favorite story for Paul, my favorite story would be, when we went out to Colorado, I took all the administrators out in two years to Colorado. This program on, you got to care how much you know before they care how much you know. They got to know how much you care before they care how much you know. Was the basic premise of that. And so we're out there, and I went on the one. I didn't go at all. I went 1 year. I didn't go the other year. But Paul is there the year I'm there. And so we're out in this farm out in the middle of nowhere. I say farmers retreat center out in the middle of nowhere. Can't go anything, no town, no anything. So you're stuck there. Well, they had a couple ping pong tables. So at the intermissions, a couple breaks, you could play ping pong. So I went out, I'm playing ping pong left-handed, playing this guy. Paul comes by and said, "What are you doing? Trying to embarrass him? What are you talking about, Paul?" Playing him left-handed. I said, "Paul, nobody knew I was playing left-handed until you said that." I said, "But I'll tell you what." I said, when I finish playing him, I'm going to play you. I'll play you left-handed. I'll play you right-handed. I'll switch hands every time I hit the ball. But after this game, I'm playing you. At that time, I was still decent.
Yeah.
So I beat Paul left-handed that day. He could not stand it. Paul thought himself, Paul is a good athlete. Now Paul can beat me any way he wants to, but then he couldn't.
Well,
Parkinson's really got me, but I in fact, I hit with Paul the other night at his house a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I can't move my feet now. I can't really move very well, but I still play. I still enjoy it.
We're just making sure we tell those at the prime.
At the prime,
You're dominating Paul Credden.
Yeah. And this is the rest of his statement. He said, "There was a time in my life when I thought I was pretty good at ping pong. But then I went out to Texas with Bob and some other administrators, and Bob beat me. Not only beat me, but he beat me with his left hand." And then lastly, he said, "Another time, a big tree fell in my yard, and I had to go to work. All day I was dreading having to come home that day to cut up the tree. But when I came home, Bob had worked all day to clean it up for me. And I'm proud to call Bob Taylor my friend, and he is a true follower of Jesus."
That's good.
That's from Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and let me just finish these notes up. I have one more.
You did do your homework.
Well, I wanted to.
There's a lot of people who love Bob Taylor.
Yeah.
So as you finish that, one of the things I'm proud of,
Mm-hmm.
when I was at Michigan, we hired good people, and so Tim Riggs was the principal, Dana Yost, Elizabeth Kaler, Sheena Newman. Sheena Newman's a good story. Real quick on Sheena, when Brooke, her daughter, was getting ready to go to kindergarten, she had taught at Blue Springs, and she was had taken off, and she was coming back, wanted to be a librarian, and so Janice Suits was the principal at Blue Springs at the time, and so I had an opening, Prospect had an opening, and Blue Springs had an opening for a librarian. Well, there weren't very many, so Terry Murray said, we'll interview them all. All three schools will interview all the candidates. So we go interview them. When it's over, I said, "Sheena's who I want." And Shannon said, "Well, no, you can't have her because she's coming back because she taught at Blue Springs, and she's coming back because I asked her to come back." I said, "Well, you may be right. Well, I'm going to at least offer her a job." And so what I did then is I called Sheree and called 4 or 5 at Dana and got 4 or 5 teachers to meet with her. I said, "Come out and just see the school." Well, they sold it. So Sheena comes to Michigan Avenue. So I lost a friend over that one, but Sheena was a fantastic librarian, and so that was, part of Turner School Run. You have somebody in the library who wants to work.
Yeah,
because we're circulating 100,000 books a year in there, and so
it's the centerpiece of
job,
learning.
But, Sheena's gone on and done a good job.
Yeah.
Well, also Dr. Jones knew that you were coming here to be with me, so he dropped just a couple lines. He said, "Mr. Taylor was my elementary principal, and when I found myself being the elementary principal of Valley View, I often reflected upon the model that he represented. There are many different stories that I've got to hear from those that worked under him as director of schools, and his legend still lives amongst the fraternity of principals."
Well, that's good.
Yeah, those people, they adore you, as does everybody I've ever met that knows you. And I do too. We've not known each other that well personally, but I do want to say that I told my wife a couple of days ago, I was like, I haven't been nervous to interview anybody yet, but I'm a little nervous about him because, not
He's intimidating, isn't he?
Well, it's intimidating, but not in a like I'm afraid of you way. It's more of a I don't know, man. You're just this giant to me. You have been all my life, and I don't find anything. Some people say never meet your heroes, but I don't find anything that bothers me. And you are exactly what I've thought you were all these years, I believe.
That's really good.
And I'm humbled to have been able to sit with you, and I appreciate everything that you've done and all the just talking to people. Who you got coming today? You won't believe me if I tell you who Bob Taylor. No, Bob Taylor's coming today. That speaks to who you are and who you have been in people's
this
lives.
was very good for me. When I left Bradley County, I left because I couldn't be the director of schools and have people coming to me and second guessing what Johnny did, this or that or the other thing. So it had been my life. It had been my life, really. So much so that my wife had told me the year before, I don't know if I said this, I don't think I said this in the interview, but when I took the job, she said, you can't, you don't need to do that. You don't want to do it. I said, Jennifer, I won't do it forever. I just want to do it for a little while. I want to see if I can make a difference in the whole system. And so fast forward, it occupied my mental space 24/7 almost. So I'd be with her, but I'd be thinking about some problem or something going on, or this or that or the other thing, some parent or some administrator or some teacher, something. Because you've always got something going on. I wasn't good at breaking off and having relaxed time, getting away, vacation time. So anyway, she told me that August of 2007, she retired that year, and she said, now you told me it. She said, I'm tired of being a single parent. I'm single mother, single person. You told me you wouldn't do it forever. I said, okay, I won't. I said, so I told them that next board meeting I was going to retire the next year. They had a whole year to look, find somebody. But yeah, it's very, very rewarding. It really, truly, this has been great for me because I see these people. I don't see them very often anymore, and I've tried not to. I see Rick Smith regularly. Rick Smith is a great guy. I don't know. He'd be one you could talk to sometime. One of the stories that he wanted me to tell was when we opened Walker Valley, we also transitioned from elementaries to K-5 elementaries, middle schools, 9-12 high schools. We had to move 300 teachers that year. The year Walker Valley,
Only
we
imagine.
moved 300 teachers.
Yeah.
So we worked on that spring. We'd been working on it for a long time and just trying to be fair to everybody. Because I couldn't, in good conscience, let every single teacher want to come to Walker Valley come if that drained Bradley to nothing or Ocoee Middle or any other school.
Sure.
So I had to try to keep some semblance of equality, but you also wanted teachers to get what they wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on this particular day, I had every high school administrator, supervisor, anybody associated with high school secondary education in my office. I said, we're going to make these assignments today. When the day's over, everybody's going to have an assignment for next year. And Larry Holcomb, who was the director of maintenance at the time, he'd been in Vietnam. He brought me his helmet, his war helmet. Said, you're going to need this before the day's over.
He wasn't wrong though, was he?
No. And so the first say 90% are pretty easy. Then you get down to the 10% that nobody really wants. Well, that was hard.
Mm.
But I had to be sure that as best I could, just like we were talking about kids a while ago in the rooms, you got to have some semblance of equality, best you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, it's worked out very well. Danny did a great job from day one here of establishing a culture. And so when we built this school, I took over and I was, my first official date was July 1. But I started there and really in the spring. I was announced as director, and so I would go up and let Tim handle a little bit of stuff, and I would go up there and do some stuff. But still I was principal at Michigan Avenue. But at any rate, so as soon as June comes, I'm up there full time. But I don't know, I had some point to say with that. But anyway, it was a real challenge because Walker Valley didn't open smoothly, as you know, and so that was a big deal. So that first year, I went like 18 months without a vacation day.
Wow.
Mm.
I worked every day because you had to. Because I mean, Walker Valley had to open, and it was going to be big. And so that year, I didn't take any vacation. Next year, I don't think I took any until. So it was 2 years I went without vacation.
Man.
But I'm saying that crying about that because it's what you had to do. The job was what you had to do. And so it was a real challenge we had with the construction company. We ultimately got $1.2 million back and all that, but it was a hassle. Everything was a fight.
Mm-hmm.
but it's turned out to be worth the fight. Great school.
I mean, look at this place.
I know, it's a great school.
Year
Great
26 and what it's turned into.
Yep.
Not just that school at the north of the county, but like
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
legitimately.
So during that year, we were building a school, I think for about, I don't know what the base school was at the time, maybe 1,000, 1,200, something like that. We were building a school for that many, theoretically, or maybe less than that.
I don't know. I heard stories of 600 was
Well, so what they
what was
said was we would not have more. So Sumter County,
Maybe
Michigan would have more
900?
than 200 kids because that's what they had at Charleston. So you go building a school, you put school up there doing all that money for a school with 200 kids in it, maybe get 400 or 500 tops. But when we opened the first year, we were full, right? And from then on, it's been sliding with no cafeteria, no gym, all that stuff. But Danny and the team up here made a good year of it. They made friends. They made kids believe. They got kids to buy in. They got
sure
families
did.
to buy in. And so this has been a school. My daughter taught up here for 1 year when she was in Atlanta. She did not major in education because my wife didn't want her to go in education. She thought it was too something or other.
Yeah.
So she was in finance in Atlanta, and after her first year there, she was offered a job making more than I was making as superintendent. She comes home, she said, "Dad, I've decided I want to go into family business." I said, "Mary Elizabeth, do that job for 1 year. You'll never make. You can teach for the rest of your life. You'll never make that much money."
Yeah.
No, I want to go in education. So she came back, went to Lee, got her master's, taught up here. But I told her then, I said, "Let me tell you what, you won't make a lot of money, but you'll make a difference, and that's more important."
Yep, I hear you.
So that's what teachers do. They make a difference
Yeah.
in the lives of kids. They don't teach subjects. They teach kids at the end. They make people have better lives, help people have better lives.
Well, principals make teachers' lives better when they do it well. And that's why I appreciate that. And director of schools make administrators' lives better so they can make teachers' lives
One of the
better.
things, when I was superintendent, I was probably had 50 lawsuits, and probably I bet most teachers didn't even know about maybe only one or two of them, because what you do is you handle that stuff without being in their way. It's not their job. Some of them, I mean, they knew about the ones they were involved in necessarily, but the political stuff, I tried to keep that stuff on me and not on teachers, and I tried to deal with it and try to let teachers teach, because teachers are, said it over and over in this thing, teachers are what it's all about. Good teachers make a difference.
Yeah.
Now, good administrators help good teachers make a difference, but good teachers are the key. You got to have good teachers, or good administrators aren't worth
I
the
hear
beans.
that. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So anyway, I'll stop.
No. Hey.
There's no stopping. We just pause around here.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
all
just
it is.
press pause here.
That's right.
We'll just press pause here.
That's right.
You got anything else, Paul?
Yes, I have many things,
I do
but
too.
we'll just
I know.
pause for right now.
I know. Listen, I can't say enough how much I appreciate you coming up here and
Yeah.
spending your time with us.
Gosh.
And for the people who'll find this online, there's so many already that have heard. I guess I whispered to the wrong people. I didn't think I had to keep this a secret, but there's already people sending me, "Are you seriously interviewing Bob Taylor?" Man, who told you that? So I know some folks are excited.
You're very flattering, very complimentary, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, to an old guy, that's what matters in life. You know,
Well.
you give your life to a cause, and to know that you make a difference at the end of the day is worth something.
Yeah. Well, I hope you never doubt it.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
thank you. And until next time, we'll see all of y'all later. Thank you so much.
Thank you.